Good ship.
All right, good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Atchison County Commission meeting for Tuesday, June 18th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We do not have anyone for invocation this morning, so please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment. None. Approval of the minutes. Do you guys want to make a motion to approve the minutes from last week, June 11th, 2024?
So, second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 2-0. I will abstain as I was not present. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Rivas.
Yeah, I'd like to just point out the Heroes Helping Golf Tournament is coming up. So just give a shout out to that. Can we put this on our website, Facebook page as well? And this is something that Alex Moore has kind of spearheaded for years, but raises money for the backpacks and what else? With school supplies. Oh, yeah, they got scholarship now too.
And a pair of shoes.
And shoes. So with the kids. So August 24th. It's at Bellevue, right? Yeah, Bellevue. So it's golf tournament to raise money. So we'll have that posted and maybe the commissioners can have a team on there. Golf, Eric's our anchor man on the golf team.
I can drive the cart. Maybe.
Maybe. That's all I have.
I don't have anything to do.
Okay, there's two things I wanted to mention. One is the city of Atchison has narrowed down their city manager search. And so they have some candidates that they're having a meet and greet on Thursday. I believe it begins at 5. That's what I put in my phone. Is it 6? I always put early and then I double check. So, but it's Thursday at the Atchison Event Center again. And so the public's welcome to come and all of us come and meet the candidates and
Thursday evening.
Yes.
This Thursday.
yes, Thursday evening. And then also congratulations to the new business downtown Service Brewery is opening on Friday. So they have been posting their hours that they'll be open this weekend, but Friday's the day. So Thursday and Friday, good things happening, and hopefully the public will participate and get to meet candidates and support a local establishment. So that's all I have.
I forgot that to mention that Buzz's Cafe and Bars open in Effingham again. So
Nice.
so Buzz bought it back and
Really, that's good.
yeah.
That's awesome.
It started.
Is it
It's
weekends or all?
it's. I'm not for sure about the
Okay.
hours, but I think it opens at 3 in the afternoon and weekends are later.
Nice. That's great.
Get one more thing.
Yes.
We would like to recognize our county chairman with the NACO.
Oh.
I guess honor that she received and the participation she did. You want to speak to that a little bit about what you did in DC?
So thank you. Yeah, I'm not very good at speaking about myself. So but it was really exciting to be chosen. And it was really neat to be able to join 16 other professionals from around the nation for some intense professional development and leadership. It was great. It's hard to explain, but it was I'm lucky that I was able to attend because it was very beneficial, 110% worth it. So thank you for saying that. Okay, new business. So this morning we have Varney and Associates, our auditors.
Want to sit
Welcome.
next to Mark?
Sure, you can sit next to Mark.
How are y'all?
Good, how are you?
Great.
And she's going to review our 2023 Atchison County audit with us.
So I did meet with most of you during our on-site field work. Want to thank Mark and Michelle and the treasurer for all the help they gave us when we were on site doing the work. we're gonna start with the governance letter, and I know you have them online, so it's so weird, it's great, we're not killing trees, but it seems odd not to hand things out. So the governance letter is a required communication between us as your auditors and you as the governing body. As you know, the buck stops here, and so you are responsible for the county and what goes on in the county. So as a result of that, these financials are your responsibility, and our job as auditors is to express an opinion as to whether we feel they're fairly stated. In all material respects, we always add that, because we don't look at every transaction, we don't look at everything. We do put them together, but they come from the trial balance provided by Mark and your software, and then we make our opinion based on that. You, like most counties in Kansas, report under the Kansas Municipal Audit and Accounting Guide, K.S.A. So you do cash basis financials with encumbrances adjusted for, and that is what most governments in Kansas, schools, cities, counties, townships, libraries, all use K.S.A. The other thing that we point out in the letter is if there were any significant journal entries that we proposed on page 2, that we proposed in order to make these fairly stated, which there were none. So the financials you're seeing today would be the same thing Mark and the clerk's office, treasurer's office would have presented for the end of the year. So no adjustments. Sometimes we do a reclass to move things around. If there's a transfer that gets into an expenditure account, we might have to do a reclass, but no change to the actual receipts and expenses that were reported in ending cash. And then finally, we always like to make some recommendations to improve things, especially our first year on a job. And it's a lot to understand what everyone does, and we definitely don't understand what everyone does and all the processes in 1 year. But we did come up with a few things, and I think we did discuss most of these with you when we had our on-site visit. But the first one was depository coverage, and we did work with the treasurer. We were able to get the documents we needed from the bank to show that the adequate coverage was being maintained for the public funds. But we do recommend that is tracked daily. The statute requires that to be tracked daily, especially during January, when you get your big chunks of money, December, January, those big tax payment times, May. It's very important to make sure that your balances in the bank are secure. The bank provides $250,000 in federal depository insurance for each account, but then the bank also, due to an agreement you have with those banks, pledges securities on behalf of the county, so that if the bank would fail, which when I started doing this, that never happened. But now with this economy, that does happen. Banks do fail. That way the public's money is protected. Those agreements there allow you to be protected. And I want to double check one thing before I speak, because I do believe you use peak periods. Yes. Okay. So peak period is something that is allowed. What that says is during those high volume times, you are allowed to only cover half of your deposits just during that window of those high times. Now, banks like that because they don't have to pledge as many securities, and it is legal and it is allowed. We don't recommend it simply for the reason if the bank failed, you're going to lose half your money. But currently you are using peak period agreements, and so the bank is pledging up to cover that 50%. Again, it's all legal, no violation of statute, but just something we don't recommend. You aren't the only county that does it, or only government that does it. We have several that use the peak period agreements. The daily statement, at least when we were here, it didn't appear the daily statement was actually being completed on a daily basis. And so that concerned us a little. There was recently, just in the last week, announced, it happened about a year ago, but it was announced about a week ago. We have a school district who lost about $125,000, primarily due to they were changing software. The bank recs weren't getting done timely, and no one was checking online banking on a daily basis, which I strongly recommend, because what happened was someone got their account number. Routing numbers are easy to get. Somebody got their account number and routing number, printed checks, and walked into banks in 7 different branches in Utah or Oregon and cashed checks on the school district. No one realized it until 60, 90 days later when they started doing their bank recs and they're looking, what are these checks? And so, long story short, with the current environment of cyber security and all the hacks out there, we strongly recommend someone looking at online banking every day. The other thing I would recommend is there's a thing called Positive Pay, and Mark says you have talked about it. There is a fee to it, but what it is when the county issues checks, they send a list of those checks to your bank, and the bank will not clear anything that is not on that list. And so it gives you that security that this kind of thing can't happen. And it's a monthly fee, and I think it's probably based on the number of checks that you write. that you issue, but I would definitely recommend it because it's way cheaper than losing money by not doing it. So we just like to point those things out. And then finally, on the bank recs, again, want to make sure those are done timely. And then we had a concern when we were here that Mark didn't have access to all the accounts, but I think that's changed. He does now have access, and the bank recs that the treasurer prepares are reviewed by Mark, and the bank recs that Mark prepares are reviewed by the treasurer. So that was a recommendation we'd made, and it is happening. So we're happy about that.
I just want to point out one thing. Michelle and I have always been on both accounts, on all of the accounts. Michelle and I both.
Perfect, perfect. And I don't know if you have a habit of looking at them daily, but
Yes.
in the past, we just waited till we got our bank statement, but we really strongly recommend looking daily at that.
Often more than that day.
Perfect. That's what we like to hear. Any questions on the letter?
On the peak periods, and you said you don't recommend peak periods.
Well,
Because would that ultimately cost us more to get away from that? Because then the banks would have to.
no, so there's no cost to you. What would happen was if you no longer use peak period agreements, the bank would be in your agreement with the bank, they would be required to pledge enough securities to cover the entire balance. It doesn't cost you more. Now you would need to talk to your bank. Are they in a position financially to be able to pledge that additional amount? It'd be a conversation you would have with your bank. Because way back when you created an agreement with the bank
Mhm.
and with there's always another party involved, like the Federal Reserve or someone that's holding those securities. So it would be a conversation you would just need to have. Most banks are happy to do it, but with the change in the climate we've had, a few bankers call and say, why is your firm recommending they not use peak periods? Well, because it's not 100% safe for the client. And so there is some concern in the banking community. It's hard to make those pledges now.
Well, at those peak periods with all of the property tax collections and stuff happening in just 2 windows a year, or predominantly. I mean, there's could be wild swings that
Yes.
if it happened at
Right
that
in that
instant,
big time, then you
So-
could lose a lot of money.
we may want to review that.
All right, and then on to the actual financial statement itself. So page 1 is the auditor's opinion. You'll see the first 2 paragraphs say adverse because you don't report under GAAP. We talked about K.S.A. So that 3rd paragraph is your clean opinion or your unmodified opinion that we feel your financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects as of December 31st in accordance with K.S.A. So that's really the gist of that. And then at the bottom, again, you can see responsibilities for management of the financial. Again, it's your financial and we're issuing an opinion on it. And then it talks about the auditor's responsibilities and some things there behind. Then if you'll turn to page 3, starting with page 3, it goes on 3, 4, and 5. So this is the actual financial statement for the county for 2023. Down the left-hand side, you'll see all the funds that the county uses to track your activity, and you have a lot of funds. I think we always like to recommend when you can get rid of extra funds, that's always great. And when you can not create new ones, that's great. There's always a time and a place for new ones and needing them. But as you're working through things, and I think Mark's aware of that too, as you're working through things, if you see funds that don't have activity or could be run through a different fund, it's less bookkeeping and it's less of a chance of error or putting something in the wrong fund. So we start with your beginning unencumbered balance for each fund. We show your receipts and expenditures in a in total form, and then your ending cash. We add back any outstanding accounts payable or encumbrances because we want to get to your reconciled bank balance on that final column. So if you'll flip to page 5 and look down there at the bottom on the right-hand side, you'll see, well, actually start on the left-hand side. You started the year with $9,171,089 in all of your funds. You collected $26 million. You expended $28,392,000, leaving you with $6,809,000 in unencumbered cash to move forward to the next year. We add back the encumbrances, and your reconciled cash at year end was $7,023,886. If you look down below, you'll see when you look at all those accounts and add them up, you actually have 25, almost 26 million, but almost 19 million of that belongs to others. So that's the money that the treasurer has collected on behalf of the schools and the cities and the townships that you will remit then in January. So the 7 million is actually the county's money. I want to go back to page 3 and go down. There are a few funds that have negative cash, and I know that this conversation, you had this with Mark, but we do point that out. It is in a footnote that there were a few funds with negative cash. I feel like you have a plan in place to correct that, or it will correct itself naturally. There's a couple of funds like the KDWP, which is negative 6,932. that was a grant fund. That probably just needs to be closed into the general and clean that negative up. There's a little negative $24 in the CARES Act, just little things that can be cleaned up. Your bond and interest fund is negative, but I understand that it's been negative, but you're letting the taxes, the delinquent taxes that are coming in to make that fund whole. So we get that. Solid waste concerned me, but it appears you built a big building this year, and that's what drove that. According to Mark, when you bring in the sales tax receipts that are coming in for the right after the first year, that fund has already become whole. So you're positive in there again. But just, I know we really look at budget. You amended the budget for that fund so that you could buy that building, but you also have to look to make sure you have the available cash. Because you really shouldn't be a negative cash in any fund at any point in time. And then your Atchison Senior Village was also negative, but I understand that's been sold. And so that's healed that. It may have healed a few other things too. So that's kind of the overall summary of the funds. You know, there's a separate set of books kept for every one of these funds. So people that think government work is easy, they're wrong. So it's not, it's complicated and mind-boggling. So then starting on page, any questions on that page? All right, starting.
Understanding when we collect all of these school districts money and all of that, so we are responsible to ensure all of that money until it actually gets
Yes.
physically turned over to
Yes.
the districts and the
So while it's sitting in your bank, so the test of the depository coverage is the balance at the bank on the date.
Okay.
And do you have coverage to cover that every day of the year?
I hadn't really thought of
All that extra money.
And how long do we typically hold that? Or does that?
Well, collections are December and then you remit in January normally, right? Around the 20th.
Yes,
Yeah.
January 20th. So the deadline for us to pay taxes is the 20th of
Mhm.
December.
Right before Christmas. Whoever came up with that?
Yeah,
I
we
wonder.
need to talk to our
Yeah, I just hadn't thought of that
Mhm.
little niche there of when, holding that money for that.
That's,
Right.
that's why it's peak period.
Yeah, that's why they went to peak period because, yeah. And it's
Yeah,
a short
but-
window.
You have many coming in though before December 20th, so it's really maybe a 60-day window when it's peak period. But you got
Yeah,
money coming in.
There is
ahead
a
of that.
footnote,
Okay, so.
I guess that's what made it, when I was envisioning peak periods, I was thinking of what we hold for ourselves or our ad valorem. But it's for all of us. So I mean, that makes it that much bigger and broader that,
So it's 2 peak periods,
Yeah.
60 days apiece.
Mhm.
yeah.
So third of the year. Think about it.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the notes to the financials start on page 6, and I won't read those to you. I'm sure you're glad, but they are, there were no new ones required this year. They are required by K.S.A, what goes in the notes, but it gives you a summary of your county and how you present, that you use the K.S.A basis. It gives some budgetary information in note 2 about when your budgets are due and that type of thing. Note 3 talks about your cash, so that's where we talk about your peak periods that are allowed there. Then if you'll skip over to page 11. 11 is a summary of the debt of the county. You have 2 bond issues that are outstanding. You have a series 2020 and a 22, and the payments were made timely on those. You have a tax revenue bond. Again, the payment was made timely on that tax revenue bond. And then you have 3 new leases during this 2023. You leased a Ford F-350s and a trailer, 2018 Kenwood T88 dump truck, and then a 2024 Kenwood 880 dump truck. So those leases came on a total of about $608,000. You made 1 payment on the first lease. There was 1 due the year you got it. And then you can see the remaining balance. So overall, your debt, total debt started out as $4,622,495 at the beginning of the year. That first total at the bottom in the middle of the page. And then you ended the year at $4,366,386, and you paid $154,283 in interest. Down below are the maturities of the debt. So for the first 5 years, they're individual years, and then the last bucket is dumped into a 5-year bucket. And that's assuming you don't pay anything off early or you don't issue new debt. Or any questions on that? All right, page 13 is where we demonstrate the compliance with the budget laws of Kansas. So not every fund you have. So the first page we looked at, there were 3 pages of funds. Out of all of those, these are the only funds that are budgeted. So they are listed on page 13, and you can see the budget that was published and approved. And then next to the last column is the actual expenditures and then the variance over and under. So you can see in all cases, you were under budget on all of your funds. Your general fund was under by over $1 million, and then in total, you were under by $1,824,952. So that's good. The next pages following to the end are all the individual funds with more detail. So I'm going to go through the general fund and kind of show you how it's laid out, and then I won't go through all of them. The general fund is your largest fund. So on page 14, it gets its own page for receipts. You can see you budgeted $12,327,000 in revenue and you collected $11,918,000, so a little less than what you budgeted. It looks like your taxes came in a little lower than what you anticipated. That was the big one. And then you had a couple other categories. Your interest revenue actually went up, which is great. A lot, everybody's did because rates are better. But just be really cautious when you're doing your budget. To budget very conservatively on the revenue side. Like for example, under reimbursements, we budgeted 150 and 145 for use of money and property. And again, that use of money and property, we probably could have combined that with your interest income line, and that would have made that a positive variance. But just they're tricky because you look at the prior year, maybe you had some grants or something that gave you that miscellaneous income, but then the next year we're not getting those. So just try to be minimal there, and then you don't end up didn't take in enough money, but we want to spend every penny we budgeted, which you didn't. But if you want to be able to, you got to make sure you have the cash. It's a tricky thing. And I did tell Mark, as part of our annual fee, if he would like us to take a look at the budget when he gets it prepared, or whoever prepares the budget, we're happy to just take a look at it and see if there's anything that stands out. Just no extra charge, just an extra set of eyes. Because when you're digging around in those forms, it does get, if you can have somebody that's objective that hasn't been swimming in the detail, and just look at it and say, oh, that's pretty glaring, you know, maybe look at that. So we're happy to do that. Then starting on page 15 are the departments in the general fund. So I always pick on commissioners, and because they're always first and you're under budget. So commissioners, your budget was 116,000 and you only spent 102. So you were under budget. The budget law applies to the fund in total. So it doesn't matter if we have a department that is over budget, as long as when we get to the bottom in total, we're under budget. So just glancing through, I'm not sure you have any emergency services, which makes sense because there's been so much stuff with EMS related to COVID, and that one was a little over. I'm shocked how much under the sheriff is, because I always joke with law enforcement. I always feel like the sheriff's my one that's always over budget, but he's 600,000 under budget. So when you go down through, again, your budget is an internal tool for you for management, but overall, your general fund on page 18 at the bottom, you can see you're under budget by $1,041,000 overall. Any questions on how that's laid out? And then every page behind that is just all the other funds. So the general fund is a levied fund and a budgeted fund. So it gets tax receipts and has a budget. The next several ones are that way, but I want to point out one that isn't. So if you go to page 23, which is the special highway fund, I'm not sure what it is in your PDF. It's the special highway fund. This is a non-levied fund, which means taxpayers don't give you the revenue for this fund. Well, they do by way of this buying fuel, but not through taxes levied in the normal way. So this fund, you get the money from the county and the state for the highway fuel. And then that's what that's how this looks. It's still a budgeted fund, but not tax levy. And then if you'll turn to page 25, 2 pages past that, we have all of the non-budgeted funds. They're all listed in columnar fashion because there are a lot of them. So these are the funds that you set up for a special purpose. So for example, the registered deeds technology, I think registered deeds, county clerk, county treasurer all have their technology fund where they can put money aside for future purchases. The local alcohol liquor, when you get that liquor money, a third of it goes into the special, or I'm thinking cities at special park, count, general, and special alcohol. You guys split it just general and this special alcohol, I believe. Apparently not a lot of drinking goes on in your county because you didn't get very much in Or they buy it in another county.
Or they buy it inside the city.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Or they
Yeah.
pop over the bridge in Missouri.
Yeah.
This
There you go.
Just liquor by the drink. Right.
None of that even matters, but I don't know. I always find.
No,
It's
it's,
not liquor, it's just liquor by the drink.
I'm not
So it only used to be Potter.
okay.
Because the alcohol tax mostly liquor by the drink in restaurants, it's not liquor
Yeah.
stores.
No, yeah, I think it's liquor by the drink.
Yeah,
Oh, it's not liquor.
yeah, we deal with that at the city, so that's
Yeah.
why. Yeah, most of your bars and restaurants are inside city limits.
Mhm.
That's the difference here. Yeah.
Was Potter the only one that we had? I think they.
Cedar Ridge. They've been county.
They don't do much out there.
That's
No,
fair.
so it'd be just, yeah,
Esters.
yeah, there's a few, yeah.
So the next several pages are all of those funds that are not budgeted. So I won't go through, all, but I just kind of wanted to show you the difference in the presentation. There are several pages of those. And then let's go clear to page 39. So it's going to be third from the last page. Or no, sorry, 41. And it's going, my pages are double-sided. Let's go to page 41, which is going to be third from the last page. This gives you that summary. When we talked on page 1 about 18 million taxes, money that doesn't belong to you, this is that total. So if you look at the bottom right-hand column, bottom total, that 18,568, that's the amount. And then if you look up above, the bulk of that is your tax distributable funds. There are a few other, like you have some outside accounts that are considered agencies. So district court, law library, the clerk has a fish and game account and a withholding account, and there's an inmate fund. So those are funds that they're within your report, but they don't belong to you. They're outside funds. So, and then finally, in your report, you show on the next page your tax roll reconciliation. And so this just shows that what was assessed and how it actually fell out. You had some added taxes, you had some abated taxes, and then you have your distributions and then the uncollected tax. So this is just a demonstration that you're reconciling your tax roll, which is very important. And then finally on page 43, you guys also include a report that deals with your special obligation sales tax revenue bond. So this is information providing the balance at the beginning, the receipts, the expenditures, and the remaining balance of that investment that you have related to that sales tax revenue. Well, was that too short and sweet? Too basic? You want more? Is it enough?
I think it's very good.
Yeah, it's really good. You have any suggestions of what we can do better as commissioners?
I would just always say, make sure you look at everything you're approving. And if you have policies in place, make sure they're being followed. And if they're not, there's circumstances related to that. And I say that because I'm an owner at my firm and it's hard. It's hard when to do that, but it's important. The policies are there, and maybe just make sure you're looking at all your policies and keeping them up to date and current, like purchasing policies. With the new, like I said, the cybersecurity, if somebody calls in and says, or sends an email and says, I want to change my withholding, I want my paycheck to go in a different bank account. Don't do it without seeing the person face to face. Don't do it without having a signed document, because there's a lot of fraud there. They'll say, oh, can you change? I changed my bank. Can you change it? Well, they just change it. And so somebody else is getting their paycheck and it's amazing how long it takes for them to figure it out sometimes. So those things are important. Again, cybersecurity, I'm sure you have cybersecurity insurance, but training for your people, making sure they know not to click on unusual links. And they look so real. We had another school there, they got an email from their insurance agent, legitimately his email address that said, if you'll pay your premium electronically this time, we'll give you a 5% discount. They did, it was fraud. So we went to do the audit. We're like, why is the insurance check not cleared? And we asked her, and she wasn't, I won't say one of my best accounting clients, but she said, well, it didn't clear because we decided to pay it electronically. So, well, first of all, let's fix that in the system because that's wrong. But then like a week later, we find out that actually it was fraud. So they really didn't pay their insurance. So then they had to get insurance. They did recover part of it, but it's just scary what's out there. So what they do is they hijack your email address. So it looks legit. So pick up the phone and call your agent and say, is this really from you? And all it takes is one click to infect every system you have. And there's been so much ransomware. I mean, if you get locked down, the treasurer can't do distributions, or you can't, you think of the implications that has across your whole communities. So It's not really auditor stuff, but it's becoming auditor stuff because it's so important.
Well, it'll eventually manifest itself.
Yeah,
in-
it does,
'cause
in your financials.
Everything's
and-
backed
yeah.
up then for,
You can't do stuff timely and,
Months.
yeah.
you know,
But for the most part, I mean, I feel like you've got a good size staff to be able to allocate your duties and things. I think adding the finance director is a great idea. I know a lot of counties are moving down that road and adding someone that can kind of help the other offices because there's a lot to do. And with R&R and all of the changes, I mean, you just get more work heaped on your department heads and your elected officials, but there's no more hours in the day. And so I think the more you can spread that work, it gives you the sense of security if something would happen to someone. If you're cross-trained and you've shared information between offices.
I would agree with that. I feel like hands down, I can be a better commissioner because of our finance director. Like the information he passes along to us in order to make decisions. I mean, it's second to none. We didn't have that 4 years ago. And
Mhm.
I mean, I can be confident in the conversations and decisions I make today because we have the information because of him. So
That's good.
absolutely.
And we're available year round to Mark, to anyone with questions. We've had a lot of payroll questions come in. We just direct them to the payroll experts. I'm not one. But that's all part of your fee. So if you have a question about a journal entry, you have a question about depository coverage, anything like that. If we don't know the answer, which we definitely don't know them all, we're happy to find somebody that does and help you with that. We had a school district that got a notice for a $1.5 million penalty to the IRS, and it had to do with health insurance reporting on the W-2s. I mean, just crazy. Well, we didn't really know how to help them, but we found one of the partners at our firm knew an attorney who dealt with employment law and was able to help them. So roundabout way, we were able to help. So we're happy to, we want to partner with you and be more than just come here once a year and tell you what you did wrong, because you do way more right than you do.
thank you very much.
Yeah,
Been
thank
nice
you all.
working with you.
Yeah.
You too. Thank you. To next year.
Thank you very much.
Don't forget some of that budget. I'll have to look at it. Sure that. Thank you.
Will do.
Thanks.
Excellent.
Yeah, that was really good. That's fun night
Yeah.
since I've been here.
I give a lot of credit to Mark and all the department heads and elected all for working hard on that, because
Oh.
there's a lot of was there 11? How many did you have to work on? Discrepancies or problems like 2 years ago?
6,
Oh,
7.
okay.
This year.
It used to be 11, and you got down to 6, and then you
It
got,
is the 22.
so now you're down to
22.
pretty much, yeah,
2 now.
and they're pretty minor. Good.
Okay. Awesome. So Mark Zeltner, Finance Director, purchase order approval for Senior Village Pass.
So I have 2 purchase orders again, paying out to Senior Village, money that we received in our bank account for them, so we receipted them in and paying them out. So there's a number 7 and a number 8.
I'd look for a motion to approve the purchase order as presented by our Finance Director out of the Senior Village Pass-Through Fund for $2,100.22 for monies received from Ensign after the sale dates of service.
So moved.
Yeah, second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. And then I have purchase order as presented from our Finance Director out of the Senior Village Pass-Through Fund. And the amount is $662.43. Also monies received from Ensign after the sale dates of service. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes.
Thank you.
That was the question. Real quick.
Mhm.
How much longer do we expect that's going to be happening?
Unknown. I'd say another quarter, probably. I've been told that there are some insurance companies that have the number switched over, and then there are some that do not. have it switched over yet, and I guess it's at the mercy of the insurance company to get the paperwork rolling. So I know Ensign has filed numbers with Medicare, Medicaid, but it's,
So.
Yeah,
it does.
and it's almost a two-way street because they also received 32,000 of our money. So it's one insurance has switched to their numbers. So when our billing company is billing for that, they get the money. And then when they're billing and it's still on our number, we get the money. So the checks just keep going two ways. And I don't know when, but from what I've been told, it's at the mercy of the insurance company to get the paperwork done to accept the new numbers. So I've tried to send all of those EFTs to my contact at Ensign is like, here's what's come through. Let me know if these are yours. I send them to our billing company. Let me know if these are ours. EMS staff is looking through them and said, oh, no, that's not mine. This is one of you two. And it's a whole team effort, but it is a pain in the butt.
I don't know if it helps, but when we switch EMS, the private company utilized the same name for over a year before we had it all. Went the right direction.
No,
No, I bet it takes a year. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, you're still receiving stuff and then vice versa for about.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Okay, Corey Scott, Chief of Emergency Services, travel and mileage approval, and then a Furno cot request discussion from the opioid funds.
The travel and authorization report was something we already discussed. It's the annual CAC Certified Ambulance Coder Billing Conference that we send the office manager to yearly, so that's basically just a form stating I sent them and for reimbursement.
Okay, oh, you need this.
Yeah,
for
she's got
reimbursement.
some stuff on a personal card.
I say, I think we figured out that maybe you don't.
I
need
could
our
approve that up front, but
Yeah.
you needed to review it on the backside is
Got it.
what the policy was.
Got it.
And I heard it was excellent training.
Yeah, she did really well at it. I think the breakout sessions were where she found the most value in it. So
Do we need to vote to approve before we sign?
I couldn't tell you
I
on
think
that.
It's in the budget, right?
Yeah,
It's
well,
budgeted, yeah, it's a budgeted expense every year.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure because most of the time, like, it's not a PO, but I just want to
No.
make sure that we don't need the
And
formality.
I apologize
because-
because I'd been bringing
it's
those up
under
front
his
for years.
Authority, so we.
And it is amended. The costs were a little more than she originally estimated, so. But it is an estimate as noted on the form. We make a copy of that.
Yep.
Thank you. The other thing, I went ahead and put it on a PO. Make sure I got that right.
Yep.
But we had talked about how to use some of the opioid addiction monies that we receive. My suggestion was we need another cot because we have converted to the Furno system completely. So if a cot goes down at this point, not having a spare cot means I'm out of ambulance. So we talked about a used cot. Furno got me a quote on a used cot. I did send that up to you, but I'll pass around the paper copy. So I went ahead and did a PO if it's something you wanted to approve.
So I just had one question, after reviewing this was, I noticed that they put the lease options and financing terms on the back. And I was wondering if they would do any better on a cash price that we're not financing it or.
Ask that question.
Okay, so,
Price is the
I-
price.
okay, that's the only question I had after looking.
I
at
did
it, so-
ask that question. That's the price.
Okay, any other questions
No.
before? Okay, so I'd look for a motion to approve the purchase order as presented from our emergency services director to Furno. And this will come out of the municipality's fight addiction fund in the amount of $18,000. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0.
I bet the finance, the third party, so there's no benefit to that.
It is, it's US Bank.
I think that's an excellent
Thanks for
Place
asking the
in-
question.
So there's no more striker, you got.
No, well,
Right.
the reserve ambulance still has a striker,
That's what I thought.
but it'll be leaving, so. And we do still have a striker on one of the rescue vehicles on the UTV. It has a striker cot, so I'll probably keep both those striker cots for rescue.
Okay.
But they are not interchangeable with the ambulances, so.
Right.
But I
think this
can't
is
see
an
spending $42,000 on a cot for a UTV. When we can use a used cot that we already have. Is that those vehicles aren't intended to transport people to the hospital. They're intended to transport people out of confined areas where a vehicle can't go.
And then I'll put it in there for scanning.
I think this is an excellent place to spend these monies, the opioid monies. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
helped.
it's all.
it's absolutely helped because we've bought cardiac monitors, now a cot. It's made a difference.
So are we pretty caught up now with everything as far as?
We still got 2 cardiac monitors that are gonna need replacement. They're bought in 2013. Those 2 are on my list. Obviously the ambulance, I should have brought my 10-year plan. I need to redo that. We've blown that thing up. My 10-year plan
That's
needs
what happens.
reworked. I'd also like to see updated CPR machines at some point too. But those are very costly as well.
The mannequins to practice on?
No, the actual machines that
Oh.
perform mechanical CPR on real people.
Right, right.
Yeah, ours are dated and were donated by Leavenworth County anyway, so. Those are on my agenda. I did put on there, I don't know if it hit your agenda or not, did it on the increased call volume.
The EMS.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up next.
Just wanted to put that out there.
If you wanted to touch base on that, so our next item is the EMS Commission report for May of 2024. That we will pass a motion to receive and file, but while you're here, if you want to touch base on any of those.
Well, has been the pattern since 2017, except for 2020 being an anomaly. We're going up again. We're 120 calls as of Friday over pace from last year. Now, obviously, I can't extrapolate that out to the end of the year, but that puts us 240 calls over last year. Last year was a record year. The numbers just keep going up. I don't know if they plateau, they peak, they come back down, but we just keep getting busier and busier. So I wanted everyone to be aware of that. And the rescue squad, their numbers have gone up too. Obviously, they're smaller in aggregate, but they're busier now too.
Correspond, thing.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Is there, and you probably have the data if anybody would be, because I know you, but the calls, are there under what category, or are they catastrophic calls, or are they basic calls?
Everything.
Everything, it's across the
If
board.
it doesn't matter how you split the categories, but if you split it into transfers and 911s, they're both up. If you split it into trauma versus medical, they're both up. It really doesn't matter. It's a steady incline. All the categories we break them down into, my year-end report breaks it down into impressions versus all kinds of different things. There's probably 30 some different categories we break it down into for the yearly report.
I was thinking
It's up
everything
in general.
that I had seen was across the board, but
Yep.
yet, I thought maybe that would, if you had seen any trends, that it was,
Everything.
it's
Yeah.
everything.
No, you can't blame it on one thing. It's everything. So just wanted you to be aware we're on pace to set another record.
So just so I heard you right, year to date, June, as of Friday the 14th, you're 120 calls over from last year.
Correct. At the
Holy
same time.
smokes.
Yep. Last year, what we were on 2,509 calls, if I remember correctly. So again, it could change. We could have a slow summer, a slow fall, but
That's an average. of
We're on
one a day,
pace.
Roughly, I mean, you're talking 1 a day difference.
Yeah. we're on pace to be over 2,700 calls this year. So
I was surprised, but I shouldn't be, but 26% are like false call or don't need you or whatever. Is that typical for your size?
yeah, that's very typical.
I know there's just quite a bit of this.
Refusals, false calls, service calls, I don't know what all we lump in that category, but yeah, about 26% are non-transports or non-patients
Basically, they're all non-billable and yet took time out of your schedule.
and fuel and wear and
all.
tear on the truck.
Yeah.
If they're out in the county, additional pay for rescue responders. So yeah,
that's gonna happen.
It all adds up.
There's paperwork that goes with everyone.
Everyone.
Mhm.
If the wheels turn, there's a report.
Maria, just looked at your 2023 year-end report, 2,509.
Okay, so 2509. I did remember the number.
All right, well, so I would look for a motion to receive and file the EMS Commissioner Report from May of 2022.
Okay,
Moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Thank you.
All I had, thank you.
sure.
Mark,
Yes, ma'am.
did you, I forgot when you were up here, did you want that meal allowance added in today? You sent it.
It just needs to be part of the budget workshop, I guess.
Okay. I was just making sure. I put it the first thing because I saw you were first on the agenda, but I just forgot to ask you. So, all right, Joe Snyder, Road and Bridge Superintendent, functional classification map and road standards discussion, road questions discussion, Schwab Eaton for Ottawa Road Engineering proposal.
Good morning.
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 It's a lot. I don't know if they have time. Get it all. I gotta put this in.
I didn't have a chance to look at all the other rate that you sent this morning.
Okay.
so-
Well, some of that information that I was trying to get as soon as possible so we could discuss it. So the first is the road classifications, functional classification. So when we started, functional classification had changes all over the board. Have you guys got the first map? And you've got the second map also. So
When were they sent? Or were these from?
Well, I sent,
The first one was like March 29th.
but then yesterday or this week I sent the new ones. Here you go,
Well,
Eric.
I still had my.
This
Oh,
is-
I should have one here. Is this what you sent yesterday?
This is the first one. The one where they marked almost all of our roads. So with correspondence with them and understanding what they needed, we have like 11 changes, and I can explain each one of them if you guys would like for me to do that.
Yes, can you start just explaining where it came from, like the process of what
So
we're talking
this,
about?
this has, sorry, I've got a lot for today, so.
Sorry. You got lots of time, so.
In the beginning, the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1973 has been a legislature requirement to maintain functional classification system of roadways and federal aid highway systems. There's been a lot of changes, and I believe the last time that we had signed anything, if I can find it. "1984" sticks in my head, but I don't know if that's in this information or not. So several years have went by since they have sent to us changes. Things have been updated, but never signed by the commission for several years.
I've got it on here too. So.
Does anyone know why that is? If the last time was like 1984 and then.
It's just kind of something that they've been doing every so many years
But the commissioners have never signed
since, no.
since the 80s.
Right, in higher growth county, it's I would imagine higher growth county is probably just.
Sure.
Population trends. Would guess.
Every 10 years, a census, KDOT works with urban areas to get new boundaries. In addition, we are sending the printed copies of those attachments, the urban area for review, and then the functional classifications. And what they suggested that we do, which is in the first map, they wanted all those changes. So when I talked to them, you know, we were all concerned, why are we changing all these roads? Why is everything gonna be from major collector to minor collector? Well, there's a certain percentage that they have to maintain through the Federal Highway Association on what roads need to be labeled as what roads. So what we did, I made several phone calls, and I got a hold of functional classification, Kevin Coaster, and we narrowed these down. So if you have a major collector, it has to start and end with another major collector, or a minor or major arterial, which would be KDOT highways. So we had some instances where that wasn't happening. If you go to the Indian, 314th, the 314th was a major connector coming off Sedgwick, went back and it just stopped. Well, that's one of the things that
Can't happen.
it can't happen. So what we did there, find it here. We made it a minor collector, then it could stop there. So then Sedgwick coming out of the city limits needed to go to another major connector. So it goes clear, it was changed from the gravel part, a local, to a major collector to align with 334th, which was a major collector. Am I making sense, Katie?
Yep.
Okay, so then we had, you know, our questions about why is parts of 286 not a major collector? Well, their theory was when you're within a half to 3/4 of a mile of 73 highway, they were using Kiowa and Neosho Road as a major collector because they felt like everybody would come off of 286 and go straight to 73 highway. Well, in our case, that's not what happens.
It was like a driveway.
Right, so what we did is we took Kiowa and Neosho off the major collector, made them local roads as they are, and then those portions of 286, which were not from Kiowa to Neosho, now they are major collectors. And from the airport, it had stopped at the airport, so we also added that part as a major collector.
So the entirety of 286 is now major.
Yes. If you look on your map, you'll see the little squiggly lines in the purple. That means we've changed those areas to major collectors. And then the little squigglies on Kiowa and Neosho are in gray, which shows that we've changed those to local. In the same way, if you go up here to Sedgwick, you'll see where the squiggly purple is what we changed, and then the squiggly yellow is to a minor collector. The other ones are Barton Road from 116 to the county line. It was a major collector. We made it a minor collector. And they canceled some of that down in Jefferson County also. The other one is Finney Road. Finney Road was a minor collector from Brown County to 286. And to get into our percentages, we made that a local road. So you're saying, I guess what I'm trying to say, like your off-system bridges and everything, whether they're a minor collector or a local road, that's all the same. That doesn't change any of that. Your major collectors make some of them off-system. So Hamilton Road, east of Huron, there was 1 mile that was a major, and to get in alignment with where we needed to be, we took that off and made it a minor collector. So to get in, we came down here to Rooks, and we took Rooks from a major to a minor. And then also 262nd east of 73, where it goes to Sheridan, that was a major collector. And we made it a minor collector. What's that? 73, south of town.
That's right.
So
can you just, the 3 functional classification, major, minor, and local, is it based on traffic counts?
It's based on traffic counts and
Connection to what?
their connections to one another throughout the county. So I can read some of this here.
So if it's going from one major road to another, it will pick it up.
The
If it
major,
stops or,
the major collector street system consists of both land access and traffic circulation in higher density residential and commercial industrial areas. Distribute and channel trips between local roads and arterials, usually over a distance greater than 3/4 of a mile. Minor collectors serve both land and access of lower density residential and commercial industrial areas. And they distribute channel trips between local roads, arterials over a distance of less than 3/4. And then the local goes down to provides, well, that's urban local, but the local roads, they just drop down. Your density's not going to be as high. It's not going to be as much traffic. And you're not going to be transporting between majors and minors as much as you would be. If I could find this. Pardon me for not having it. I should have had it. But it's been several years and years since the county has signed off on this.
when we first got this, it was kind of like a gasp and
Yeah.
hold your breath moment. So, and have they been easy to work with?
Yes.
or- And so,
Very easy.
okay, good. I
So-
mean, when I know the first time we saw this, we're going like, what is going on here? What's the end game on this? So,
Well, and I was too, because I was shocked. Why would we be changing all of this?
So I heard you mention 84 earlier, but it says 05 on this map.
Does it say on,
August.
Well,
15th to 05. It says
is that where
county-
it says county approval?
County approval.
Okay, so,
So it's August
05.
05. Okay,
yes.
that makes more sense.
Well, that's what I
Well, I
was
had
trying to think.
84 in
It's
my head
been
and some-
years since the eighties and no one said yes.
Yeah.
So what happens if we don't? Then they just adopt their recommendations and we don't have, like, because obviously their recommendations are from a high view down. We're living it, so we know what needs to be done to achieve their.
Well,
So I
probably
think
if we don't agree with them, we may affect our funding or something too. I don't know. We kind of need to be on the same page.
we're trying to keep our percentages where the Federal Highway Association wants us to be, which that helps in our federal monies. I don't know why it had been so long. Like in 2010 or something, they did another one. They just started going through these the way I understand it, and I wonder if we weren't one of the very first counties that got hit with as much change as they were asking.
well, if they done it alphabetical.
Yeah,
There may
I
have
don't
been-
know.
There may have been no changes last.
But they were, well, I think that's what's happened. They haven't changed and they haven't changed and they haven't changed.
It's every 10 years.
So now we're almost 20 years from 2005. So now we're going through and they worked very well with us. They want to know what our roads were, what we had for all of our roads. Because they want to have the same map we want to have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it don't
So-
necessarily look like maybe it's a bad thing, but I think their initial approach, when you just sent that out without maybe working with us before they had suggested changes. I mean, it made it look like it was going to be something they were forcing on us when maybe it was just their initial read and then please respond.
Right.
And
And
they're doing this with all the Kansas counties every 10 years.
I'm not gonna say assume, but I would say so.
Yeah, I would assume.
So if you look, the minor arterials, that's major collectors fund Federal Highway Association, minor collectors, FEMA, local collectors, FEMA. So when we had the flood in 2019, the major collectors, that money, if we'd have got any, would have went through KDOT. You apply, you had a certain date to have that applied by. All the minor collectors in the local, when we have that big, it's FEMA. So there's two separate Federal Highway Association and KDOT, basically. or FEMA on who funds and makes it eligible.
So changing the classifications, does it change the chances of obtaining grant funding or?
Very, very little. I don't see where it would, we got rid of some, major collectors, so now if we had a disaster, that would be under FEMA instead of
Yeah.
the federal. But as far as grant funding, no, I don't think so.
Other than the fact that we don't know what the classification is, but beyond that, it's.
Right.
Yeah. So everybody's got the same nomenclature, it's the same map.
And in the beginning, I think I sent the whole email. And that email kind of explains a lot of the. Go ahead.
So I had a question about that email. So, the city of Atchison was also on that, and the urban area boundary, possibly altering as well. When that happens, does that take them off of our list?
I think we're still hooked together. So I'm gonna meet with them after we get done with today. I'm gonna meet with them next week or the week after. I sent an email yesterday. They'd sent one and David Mahoney's retiring, so I've got to talk to two other people. The functional classification team just acted like we just need to work together. There would be very little changes probably between what the city has and what we have.
I think Roger had a comment.
My experience from working with the city is that yes, when that boundary changes, it takes those from our pot and puts it in their pot. They have chosen to, for the highway segments within their boundaries and within their jurisdiction, they have chosen to get payment for maintaining those. And so the city's getting paid to maintain those areas.
Okay.
And it will change their contract.
Oh,
Okay.
they're.
So that's
okay.
a separate thing though, but they do come off of our list.
It's my understanding they will come off of your list within that area.
That's where they do.
So like the work they're doing on 59 through town, they're getting paid to do that.
Gotcha.
But I do, well, like I said, I worked with Roger and Jack. And they and I all worked with Kevin Coaster through K.S.A. to make sure that our roads align to the best of our ability. The roads they have on this map are the ones that we have, correct, Roger?
Yeah.
So there is
So what's the timeline that this all needs to be, all the parties sign off on?
by fall, well, this we need to do, I mean, we can do it right now today. I have
Seems pretty simple to
the
me.
classification approval resolution. And then we'll meet with the city and try to get theirs done.
I guess do we approve it before they've had a chance to maybe?
They told me that we could go ahead and do ours, is what functional classification told me.
Okay, and then
Then
anything that the city does, I mean, I'm trying to just. Try to
They-
get where the boundaries are here, then do we have to approve that too, or is that only? The city sign off?
I think that's their show.
that's, I believe so. I may be wrong, but we have to work together, so it really wouldn't have mattered who went first. We would still have to have,
Well, I guess I would look at it and I think that. After. We would like, okay, this looks good to us, and the city would say, get their part, and then everything would be signed. Cause then everybody's agreeing. I mean, it seemed. Like if we do our part out here. And then they want to change something, it could affect what we've already approved. Does that make sense?
somewhat, yes.
Here's how I think that would occur. Is the urban boundary location would be changed on here. Whether or not the city accepts the increase to their contract amount. Then, and accepts responsibility for that contract amount, would then be a decision of the city.
Yeah, between them and KDOT, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't affect us.
So
The only thing it affects, it's not affecting any of the local roads, just the state highways, the major collectors, or not even the major collectors. that boundary is controlling state and US highway.
Okay, I'm just trying to clarify the way I would think it would work, but
Yeah, and I'm still trying to understand too. So so in 2005, Pat, do you have a copy of what that was signed?
2005, no, I don't think we had one.
Okay.
And I
in
tried-
2015, the commissioners did.
Well, they just kind
Okay.
of did their own, I don't think it was even
They may not
even
done it.
presented. I
in
just think-
15, I don't remember ever seeing anything like this unless it happened.
And I
very
wonder
early
if-
here.
I wonder if that other date I said was the only, and I'll have to go back and look, the only record that KDOT had of us signing anything.
So was the back in the 80s that you talked about?
Very possible. I think that's why that's sticking in my head. Because I got a hold of them and asked, and I called, I think Michelle, and we looked and
Well, it's got county approval at 8/15/05. What if we could research the records in the minutes, maybe find out we actually
I thought-
did? I don't really matter.
I thought we did though, didn't we?
I don't, I would have just checked on.
Okay.
I don't think it
all
would
right.
matter because we're moving forward anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
But it's just,
That's what I'm trying to understand, like what happens if we don't? Like, I'm just curious, like, why there's
I
no
haven't,
record of
I
what
haven't
the-
asked that
If this has been
question.
going on since the 80s and it's every 10 years, there's no record of the commissioners ever doing that.
And maybe that's why they're redoing all of this, because they need to get the paperwork
It-
signed and everything from everyone.
Yeah,
I-
I'm just trying to
what's
understand.
Where's the downside on this? To me, it's pretty simple.
Well, I don't
Just
really
identifying
think,
them.
I don't really think after we talked to them and got that all cut back to where we're within their percentages and we've looked at each one of the roads and feel comfortable with what they are. I don't see,
Yeah.
Because currently without this adopted, we have these functional classifications in Atchison County already.
you have a statute, K.S.A. 68-506, that requires the Board of County Commissioners, with the approval of the county engineer, to classify and designate the roads. And it gives 4 different county major collector, county minor collector. They are not exactly the same as the titles that they use, that KDOT uses, but they're very close. So there's nothing in the statute that says that you've committed a felony or something if you don't do it.
We know.
That you're,
I don't think it's the problem that we anticipated it was going to be when we first saw it. I don't see the problem with it, especially since they worked with us. We're willing to look, see, or hear our concerns and work with us to adjust that stuff.
No, I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm trying to understand what
Sure,
happened.
yeah.
Like, and also if we don't, these roads on their map are already classified for us. So with or without this, our Atchison County roads are classified as this map shows, correct?
correct. Not with all the squigglies on it.
Right, but
Before
they're
that,
already, so if you
yes.
just pick one, that doesn't have a squiggly, it's already a minor collector.
right,
Like, they're already,
right. They've already, but the big thing would be is when it comes down to meeting the standards of the Federal Highway Association and getting to the percentages of roads that they want major collectors to be, minor collectors and local roads. So, and then it explains the funding, the FEMA funding and all that, so.
I
And
think it's
there's,
a good thing to stay on. I mean, if they've worked with us and everything to stay current and up to date as much as we possibly can, because we don't know when we're gonna have a FEMA request, and then all of a sudden, oh, that's the county that didn't want to work with us.
Yeah.
You know?
They're playing well with others.
Yes.
It's pretty simple stuff.
Well, that's why I'm just wondering why since then we don't have any record of wanting to play well with others. So I'm
Well,
just trying to
and
understand
that's-
why all of a
and that's
sudden.
well, I mean, I think they're probably going through all the counties and I looked for it. I couldn't find it. I talked to Michelle, I talked to KDOT, and I will look that email up and get that back to you on the date. This was the last one that they had recorded.
So
Okay,
either they.
that would be
either they had
interesting.
Lost the one we did back in whatever year it was, or.
Yeah.
Recorded, or
So
You know,
then,
maybe the first record we can't find.
It wasn't so many years ago, there were a lot of things that weren't being recorded and archived like they should have been. This may have been kind of one of those departments where it was falling through the cracks and now it's being updated.
But I'll present you with whether the commission has to sign off on this and the clerk and to adopt these.
I do have a copy of the 1985 thing that was signed off on, and there was some correspondence in 2005, but I don't see that we responded to it.
I was close. I was off a year.
Must have done something in 2005.
Well,
In 2003, there was a letter to Bobby Jackson, so the great superintendent, with a map. And then a copy of something signed in 1985.
It's just this county approval, here's all it says, so it's a date.
15, 2000, yeah.
That's all I know.
Well, they may have. If
A little over 2
the county,
years after the letter.
Yeah.
if the county didn't respond that year, they might have just said, well, they agree with it and
move forward.
move
Could have been a
forward.
letter, if you don't respond, we'll consider you approved.
Yeah.
Well, so that's what I was trying to understand,
Yeah,
like, if
yeah.
you don't respond, then is this what gets
Get it
done,
out.
is
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
wondering.
anyway, dropped it, so
That's what I was trying to
I
understand.
support this.
I do too. I mean, especially since they worked with our suggestions and Joe's recommendations. I mean, and we're easy to work with.
Okay, so I have a county functional classification approval resolution to approve the functional classification system for Atchison County. Whereas the above stated county has reviewed the functional classification of streets located within their boundary. And whereas said county is aware that those streets classified as major collectors and above are eligible for federal STP funding. Now therefore be it resolved that the functional classification of roads inside the county boundary is approved as indicated on the attached map. So real quick before I call for a motion, so when I read this out loud, all they're really worried about is major collectors and the STP funding, correct? Like, we didn't talk about the minor or the local.
Well, the minor and local, I explained how the FEMA works.
The KDOT
the-
in this. is
Yes, this was
their-
all in there.
This is their.
This is there. Everything you have today is from them.
Okay.
They're the ones that made the maps. Everything's went through them.
Okay, got it. Do I have a motion to approve?
Yes, with discussion.
Yes.
Second.
Do we attach the map and is that the prerequisite of what is what's what, or do we need a
Signature.
road by road listing to attach to this for what we've approved? Do you know what I'm saying? Do we have that?
I just
or-
have the road by road, what were the changes were.
Which is attached. I mean, it like
Yeah.
proposed county function of.
Okay, I didn't know
So
that
you
was
have-
attached
yep.
on the back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is
he
it,
has
is
it.
it there?
Yeah, I'll
So
print a clean
That's
copy
basically.
because I
it's
wrote on
basically
mine.
Map and description form.
Right,
Yeah.
but I just wondered attaching a map
You have
and
a clean
someone
copy or?
in the future reading it. Or
That's what we
and
ended up.
Have the new map?
interpreting. That's what, I thought
This
if there
is
was
the
more
old map,
documentation.
And I'll
it would
put
be-
that with
Yeah.
this
And
in here.
Just a second, I do. Yes,
Okay, and we can
that's
just.
it. And
initial
those
these two.
are the changes that were made.
Okay, so we're just gonna, we can just initial these two supplements to go with this. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye. Passes 3-0. Just.
Right? Since we had to do that as a resolution, we'll go with that, right? Okay. Resolution 24-15.
1540.
No, I was over that. I don't see why. Anyway.
There's the old one.
And then I was close. I thought it was 84, but I knew that was the only record that they came up with for me through KDOT, so.
Okay, so this is county engineer, county clerk. You will sign that.
I don't know whether I would or whether I would get
Gabe.
Gabe to do it. I will find out.
So do you not want it probably in the scanned folder? You want it in the scanned folder?
For resolution,
Yeah, well, the engineer still has to sign it. But
I know sometimes you guys have me sign off as that and sometimes Gabe does, so it's whatever you would like for me to do.
Whatever, I mean,
that we all have a copy.
Got it. Okay, perfect.
Okay. We were working on the road standards and we never finished them. And I didn't know if now would be a time that we could possibly adopt this, and it doesn't necessarily have, so let me go back. These were just standards and some procedures as a general for the county on the roads. It's not, it doesn't delve into each thing totally specifically like it has some of the like Botteroffs and Effingham, you know, if they're wanting to.
No subdivision, it's just about
This,
that.
it has some subdivision stuff in it, some criteria, but it doesn't have what you, the commissioners, would come up with, how we would approach that and how we would do it.
that's what I was gonna say, since that came up and we were discussing it this morning, that would the city of Effingham have to adopt those standards?
Yes, the city does have, the city does have the authority to open roads and to accept the dedication, so they would definitely need to be on it if it's located within the city.
But before it's built, would they have to have standards of their own for the builders to come adhere to? If they don't have any standards, but they come to us after the event to approve a new road, which they don't have to, if they don't have to adhere to our standards, and there are no standards at the city, I was just wondering how that worked.
I think if there's a statute that says that cities of the third class, the land within there is included within a township. So if they do not have any standards, I have no idea whether they have standards or not. I think they would be obligated to follow ours as a minimum standard. My understanding though is that this is engineered, and I think it even showed a paved road on the, doesn't it show a paved road on the plat?
To be honest, I haven't reviewed it because I didn't know whether we had any
We don't have
involvement.
any involvement, yeah. So yes, our guidelines would come into play as minimum standards if they don't have any. I know this is being prepared by an engineer. So
B&G is doing it.
So I suspect that they do have some road standards built into their project, but I
would
don't know that
say
for certain.
for courtesy, if we were to adopt these today, we need to send these directly to the city of Effingham and to
We got two things here, I think, we're talking about. These are road standards, how to build a road 101, basically. Right? What Roger mentioned earlier, I understand, was subdivision regulations, which are more than just this. So I think, am I saying that right?
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot more subdivision regulations. So this is more about like the right turn
What the-
radius and the offsets and all the things.
right, but what I'm saying is if they were told so far that there are no standards, and now we in the middle of the game have adopted some, I would want them to know what's been passed and whether or not that. I would say that probably anything they would be developing would pass. I would, if it's been engineered, but my thing is, you change. Directions in the middle of their game for courtesy, that we would send anything that we would adopt today to them so they can then see if it's relatable. Sure. That's my point, was that,
Yeah, these are road standards, and so to me, these are pretty simple, and I think the subdivision is a little more conversation about, how far it's gonna take, because I'm sure what the city of Atchison has is maybe a little more robust than what we may need for the development out in the middle of the
Well-
county somewhere, so.
if. So the city will be able to, pass this, and we won't be asked to pass road opening or anything.
They are able to accept the dedication of the public road and approve it. I haven't talked with, the Register of Deeds about it. I think for her to record the plat, I think it's still going to require some approval by the county, either by the county surveyor or by the commission. But I haven't talked with her about that. I think the county surveyor is enough,
She has said it. That it requires a signature on behalf of the county board.
Okay. So it may be that you're going to be asked to review it.
But again, I'm just dealing because. When they call me and ask, I'm trying to give them as clean an answer as I can give them.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Knowing any rules or regulations, and I mean, we do the same thing with streets and everything else. that we
I've
do.
done a lot of these. I was on planning commission. I had to sign off on a lot of the subdivisions that have been around Atchison now, and as they were being planned, so. It's quite a process. You gotta get it right, so.
And all he's showing in here is, what the right of ways would be and your utility easements and just stuff like that.
Yeah.
Road design stuff, so.
Yeah, this stuff's pretty
Do
basic.
you have,
Well, I was just, the road standards, yeah, I have.
you got,
those.
because he changed, you had asked for
Well,
one,
I didn't see any changes. I went
but he
through,
was
them.
supposed to have changed.
I went through them and.
Okay, I'm
And I
sorry.
was trying to remember back why this came up, the recommendation of road standards.
I thought that, the commission and everybody wanted to adopt a set of road
K.S.A.
standards.
recommended it.
Yes, and
Because
that's why.
developers come in and there's nothing.
So a lot of it, like when we ran into the driveway instance out here on 262nd,
That's
and
where
we
I
had
got it.
questions.
Even on the haul routes.
On haul routes, we had questions on everything, and unless I'm not remembering. You guys asked if we could get this started, so Gabe being our on-call engineer, I contacted him. And he started with what he had, and that's kind of where
I
we
believe
were.
you even said, Casey, we need something so we're consistent and we're doing things uniformly.
And then,
So
and
I
then,
remember it coming up in November when Walnut Township asked us for them.
okay, so road standards, part of it was road
And
standards.
we said, we don't have them. And so
Right.
we gave them all these examples of Celine, Finney, Douglas that we sent to them. And then we were like, well, maybe we should if the townships are asking us for it.
Well, we're
There's
by
also a
statute,
that says that the county engineer is supposed to provide those to the townships.
doesn't mean that they have to follow it. Is that correct?
The townships are not required to follow it. Right.
But if we're asked, we've at least done our due diligence through that statute to have the road standards. And I think that's where it all.
I think it's a good base point that when you have an issue or a new road to open up, it's not. Oh, what's good enough, and that could change from, he had no standards from whoever's telling them what they need from one person to the next, from 6 months to the next, everything would be different. Here you would have a standard adopted and it would be consistent until it's changed.
But like there's one township that's upgrading a lot of their dirt roads to gravel, and their reply was, we're gonna keep doing it the way we are, which is fine, but we just as a county
Yeah.
are required to have this.
And they
And
might be doing it very well.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So it's not imposing, that we say you have to do it this way. It's just we have to do it to follow the statute to be in compliance.
I like the idea that you'd be elected because they're gonna have some unique situations, I'm
Mhm.
sure, in areas that are hard to follow it exactly.
But then after this, if you wanted to, like the questions Roger is asking, then those questions can be addressed, how the commission wants to move forward with the way you guys want to do that, do the roads, the cul-de-sacs, all of that. So that he has an answer. Everybody is on the same page. I think also when we were doing this, we were asked to come up with an easier way or whatever, to where people, if they're wanting to purchase property, new addresses, make that a lot smoother. And Roger's worked on that, and I think it looks pretty good. How things, he can go through that here in a little bit. Road questions. So we were just trying to, at discretion of the commission, come up with what you guys had asked for.
Well, I thought he didn't change those things, you don't think?
Well, I thought
The
they-
statute K.S.A. 68-502. And it's duties of the county engineer. It includes providing those plans upon request. There are several other things. We've had a discussion at one time about adopting a resolution to opt out of appointing a county engineer and to appoint Joe as the engineer for some purposes. And then the resolution would also say that for things that require a stamp, an engineering degree, professional requirements, that we would hire somebody to do that. That's kind of essentially what we've done. But we don't have any specific resolution that says that. I thought Benton Township got sued a few years ago, and I thought that might be an issue that came up in that lawsuit. It ended up not being an issue that came up. But we've kind of discussed it. The staff don't see a real urgent need for it. It certainly wouldn't hurt things. But there is a statute that requires the county engineer to provide those road standards to the townships.
If I can add in here also, if you adopt these standards and someone wants to do something that doesn't totally agree with these, they can always come to the county commission and request that other type that they may be proposing. The city has similar standards, and yet they approve. And if a subdivision is going in, and whoever's, we've watched Roger Cottle do this for years, he has to put up a bond saying he will construct those streets and come to an agreement with the city commission saying these will be put in before they get done. And he can make requests for changes in terms of whether they're all curb and gutter or partially curb and gutter, what type of curb and gutter. And so you would have the ultimate authority in all of this anyway.
Yeah, nice, it gives engineers a way to know what to expect when they start.
Here's something that I'm concerned about, and I think everybody is. It's like the last piece of property we found out was purchased in a pasture. And there is actually no road going back there. Is when we get these designs and we get these everything set up, getting it to realtors and getting it to people to where they understand that you just don't throw an address up and sell a property and then somebody has to figure out how they're going to get a road to their house. I think somehow we need to try to find a way to get this information out once once you guys have decided what you want. So that doesn't happen.
Okay, so are you guys wanting for me to call for a motion to approve these today? Is that what you're?
I'm okay with that, except I want to make sure what your questions answered regarding some changes, so I make sure we.
I don't remember the changes that were proposed.
So I sent 1, 2, 3 pages for little changes, and none of them were even acknowledged or on there. So I think the wording concerns me. I think I don't think, I don't feel good about this at all.
That's what you not feel good about.
Just all of these,
Well, the wording's engineer smithing, I mean, so I don't know.
well, and it puts it back on the constituents. I mean, it's just, I mean, is every road, like, I asked so many questions and got no answers. And there was vagueness about fees and. I mean, there was
think
just,
the fees would be set separately from this agreement. I mean,
well, so this whole thing, like, if
So we
you
could-
adopt this, like, this is what you're gonna have to go by, right? And so that's why I just think it's excessive, and it does have subdivision roads in here of how they need to be built
Of
and
the
to
sign,
what
yeah. It's all
standards.
about
and-
sign standards.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I don't know. I don't,
Well, I've worked with these engineering guys for years, and I have full faith and confidence in this document, the way it sits, honestly. I mean, and then as far as fees, you would have a separate resolution, I mean, on an annual or biannual basis, where you say twice a year, 2 or 3 years, say, here's our fees. You know, you don't want to change your whole resolution every time you change fees.
So do we need a fee schedule to go along
That'll be
with that
later.
at the same?
I would assume later we develop that, Gabe would probably give us some recommendations on what the fees would be.
That's something that,
If we even have a fee, how
right.
we gotta decide that.
That's what you guys
So
have
we have
to
the ability to
decide.
charge a fee.
I mean, it had just, and a lot of the wording had to do with cities too, which didn't really fit our mold. Patrick is not responsible at accuracy.
I can't find that in my email, I don't know why, but you have.
I don't think I ever saw her list of questions. That would have been just between.
Are you wanting the list questions or you wanting this?
The document.
Okay, so I sent it to you guys.
I've got a hard copy, maybe that.
No, but I sent it the other day.
It was in your.
It was in the
Where did-
That was in the
attachment.
attachments.
Yeah.
Was that on a road thing? Oh, I
Road
knew.
policy, yeah, that was.
Road,
And
I
like
was looking
we're
at-
telling, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It
I
doesn't-
was looking for it actually under.
yeah,
road
it'll be
standards.
road standards discussion, and then there'll be a PDF that has everything on it. Cause it's too many pages for me to.
Came from you, right?
Yeah. Atchison County Roadway Design Guidelines.
Yes,
Then
that's
put in your.
I'll find it. This is really weird. It was that on you date.
No, I can go back to the.
6/14.
Thursday or Friday. Well,
It says meeting.
because I had to wait on some of my information I've been trying to get.
Oh, here it is. Yes, the headline was meeting. Okay, so. Sorry,
That's all right.
so. This is the design guidelines, right?
Yes.
Casey, I'm still not hearing specific questions you need to answer.
Well, so like, for instance, I think here's a good example of excessiveness. Like on page 8, 7E, we're requiring compaction testing. Like, is that serious? Like, that seems super excessive in different scenarios within the county. Like, we're trying to fit everything into a mold, and I don't think every county road should be subject to compaction testing. Contractors telling them when they can't work. I mean, contractors work Sundays and holidays that aren't federal holidays to get the job done. Like, there was.
Road compaction, that's on a new road that's being built. and
Right.
That's a standard you need to come up
For
with.
your
That's
new
not-
road. Now go ahead.
No, so the example of Trago Road, like, does it really need compaction?
Okay, so, but here's the thing. We're making these standards. They don't have to abide by them. They can do what they want. We
Okay.
just legally.
So let's act
Okay.
like Trago's a county road. We're gonna require them to do compaction testing. Like a contractor to build a gravel road or change a minimum maintenance into a gravel road.
Some of it needs it, because we've had some people do some approaches, some bridges that didn't fit, but I mean, that's something you guys,
I know.
it's something I can't answer. I know we redid River Road, we didn't compaction test it. You know, we ran the sheep's foot until it come out. And part of that, if you look, is that a class B compaction? Is that
B95 is sheep's
Sheep's
rolling
foot.
out with a sheep's foot.
Yeah, and to where you roll out with a sheep's foot, and then that's your compaction. So it wouldn't necessarily, and I can talk to Gabe about that, but it wouldn't necessarily mean that it had to be actual compaction testing.
You do these standards, and then when they do the design for some road, there may be some things that aren't even necessary. Is what you're saying. I mean, some things will be necessary, but then we know.
Right, well, KDOT's classification of compaction on certain instances is the B95, where you roll out with the sheep's foot, you know, everything's a little bit different depending upon and this is, I believe, went off a lot of the KDOT specs.
That we don't want to accept a road that we'll have to maintain in the future if it's not built right to start with. I think that's the whole key.
Yeah, and most of these, the way I understood it, would be new roads that we have built in the county. So like on Ottawa Road, you know, when they come in, they have to do all the compaction, they have to do everything like they're supposed to, so we don't have that problem.
Yeah.
Right.
So if we had these standards, say 10 years ago, a whole lot of our problems would have happened.
Well, anything that's contracted out that you're.
Yeah.
Or if we're doing, we need to try to do it that way. So,
That stone subdivision, they clearly didn't do compaction testing. Oh, the one, yeah,
over here, the one that we're gonna,
we're taking back from paved to gravel.
well, we're going to do the phase one over there.
So are you guys
Yeah.
wanting to adopt this today? Is that what I'm
I'm
hearing?
okay with it. I mean,
too.
Okay.
it's just basic stuff.
All right, so I would look for a motion to adopt the roadway and street design guidelines dated February 2024 as presented from our road and bridge superintendent.
So moved.
Okay,
Say,
moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Aye. Passes 2-1.
Okay, road questions. Roger.
I know we think that this doesn't happen very often, but I would say on an average, 3 or 4 times a month, people come in and then they ask us about roads that may not be in our current road system. Townships, county may not be maintaining them. They're looking at selling a property, doing something with a property, and they're saying, we think this is a road. But why don't you think it is one? And so we have to set and say, well, here's what we're dealing with at the moment. We had set up, the problem was 12 years ago, I will tell you, there was nothing. 12 years ago, I went to, that time, Matt Dorsum, and said, what roads do you maintain? He goes, well, what do you want? I said, well, do you have a list or a map? And he said, no. We do whatever the previous guy told me we do, and that's what we do. And so I started looking for, I want to know specifically, because people come in and start asking us, what roads does the county maintain? I just need an answer, or maybe I don't need an answer, but I thought I did. And so I started creating a database that had in there who was maintaining what roads. I went to the township meetings for several years, actually, and said, let us know which ones you're doing. And we would take maps, I'd take them, highlighters, and say, just highlight which ones you're doing. It's especially confusing when you're dealing with those roads that fall on the boundaries between two. And so we did this over and over and over again. When we started out, we probably had as many as 300 roads in the county that were labeled that no one maintained. And what we also had going on at that same time was the 911 adoption was going on. And the state of Kansas paid another firm to go through and put addresses. We created road names, because one of the things that occurs is people come in and say, well, give me a map that shows all the old road names on it. Well, the old road names were not official. They were just things people made up. You know, that might be, you know, Bill's Drive or whatever it was, Potato Hill Drive, Potato Hill Road, Country Club Road was one of those. Well, everyone wanted to know what the roads were. So first thing they did is they created road names, and then based on those road names, they assigned address ranges to each segment of roads, and then they started creating addresses. When they addressed, they didn't care who maintained it, how it happened. They just wanted addresses on everything, so that if somebody calls in with 911 and says, hey, we're at 26875 Podunk Road, they can get there. The problem with that is when we labeled every park drive, and I can give you an example, there was a drive that went into Warnock Lake. They label that as a road. And as soon as they label it as a road, people think they can build on it. And it wasn't a road, it's private property. It's, you know, and those occurred all over. So we had like 350 segments of road. And my contention always was anyway, that if I'm a law enforcement officer, I want to know if I'm on a public road or a private drive anyway, when I'm going to respond to something. After eliminating many of the roads and drives as private, then we went back through and started looking at, we probably had 50 or 60 that were in question as to who would do it. And so we kept going back to the township meetings and the county meetings so that we could get names on everything that we could find. Now, not that it's perfect, but that's what we've done. So we are working currently with that base. We have created maps based on that. And I know the commission uses those because it comes up and says, yeah, here's the segment of this road. Those are the roads that we're dealing with. If those are not correct, we want to know that. If they're not right, we want to take them down off the internet so that we're not putting bad information out there. But those are what we supply to the 911 people. We supply them to a lot of other agencies so that they can deal with them also. K.S.A is one of those. K.S.A also says, give us your centerline files for your roads. That's why you find a lot of these roads are coming from our centerline files. Having said that, people come in with roads that aren't on there. We get this repeatedly. So what we have done is we've created a system whereby if that road is not on there, we have a road question form now that we fill out that basically says, it asks a series of questions. Why do you think it's a road? Then we will go through and try and find out, did it ever look like it was a road? Has it been used before? What are the conditions of it? How did it get here? Why does this person believe it's a road? How long has it been since it's been used? We're going through all of this data. Is there visible right of way? When I say visible right of way, was it ever dedicated that we can find? Okay, is there right of way shown here? We research the 1893, the 1905, the 1925, 1964, 1948 maps to see if it ever showed up on any of those. And then when we finish doing all this research, traditionally what we do is we lump it into one of three areas. Either, yeah, there's good reason why this was a road, but it may not have been used for many, many years. And so it may need some improvement to occur. No, I don't see any reason for this road whatsoever, and we have no evidence that it's ever been a road. Or three, it meets somewhere in between those two, but it needs some things fixed before we would suggest that it move on. In any of those cases, I don't believe it's necessarily the staff's obligation to bring those to you and argue in defense of any of those roads. I think the people who want those roads should be the ones coming to you, giving you their reason that they think these roads should be opened, that they should move forward, and the staff can give you the information that we found and what we think the shortcomings, discrepancies of those particular roads may be. Now, I'm just doing this so that when someone comes in the door, if you choose that we can continue using this, when someone comes in the door, we can tell them what the policy is going to be and what it's going to take to get there. We're happy to deal with anyone. I just don't want them thinking we're the ones that are going to put it on the map for them. It's the commission that tells us to put it on the map. And so we don't put roads on there without doing that. And I must tell you, a lot of people think all it takes to become a road is the county commission to say, yes, it's a road. I think our county counselor has said, no, there's a process for creating a road and creating the right of way that takes just slightly more than that. So I want to know whether this and this kind of fulfills, if this is something you want us to continue doing, we're happy to do that and move in that direction. If there's something else you would like us to do, please tell us. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to operate out there in a vacuum and then find out that we're wrong every time we do something.
I don't have any problem being the final step for being a commission, but I would like them to go through the process first before they come to us.
Yeah.
And not say, I'm not filling that stuff out, I just want it open. I would like for them to go through there, because we need for us to make our decision, we need to know if there's a right of way, what it was, or, you know, or what's gonna have to happen, the process, before we really have a discussion with those people. So I think it sounds fine as long as they go through the application too.
And it's not necessarily an application. It's just, we do an inquiry on the roads and we're starting to fill out data, and we may be creating a record that's 10, 15 pages long that shows here's the history of what we have seen here. And all we're saying is, once we dig this up, now we have started creating a bin for these, an electronic bin, so that a lot of times 2 or 3 people will come in and ask about the same road or the same drive that they're dealing with. And I'd just soon have all the information there so that we can just bring it back up and say, here it is. I can give you several examples. One that we dealt with recently was a drive across Purdue's farm into the Bolin property, in which they came in and asked us. They must have come in 20 times and asked us. It was only we went through all of the road records in Michelle Phillips' office. We scanned all those records, and it was in the process of scanning all those records out of our office that we found that road record. You know, and I know people say, well, look for it. Well, if there's nothing in the books that says this was ever created as a road, we don't know where to look. There's no place for us to go. So again, we keep working, improving, creating those records. We would work it and create the information on it, and then we would label it in one of those three cases. And if those people want to bring it forward to the commission, we will walk in here and tell you how we see the thing as it works right now. And then you can make the decision as to whether we move forward with it or not. We do the same thing. That's the same thing we do with the appraiser on land issues. When we see things that are truly wrong or need correcting, we always put together the case on it and take it to Holly and say, this is in your court. You tell us if you want us to make the changes. So it's following that same sort of procedure, but we have so much more information than we had 12 years ago.
Yeah, I think it sounds good.
So I have a question. So you sent us a letter, but that wasn't yours? Was that his? 'Cause it
That
said-
was, I included it.
Okay,
We talked.
okay.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, no,
And
we
because We're
talked.
doing this on Joe's behalf.
okay.
We are not operating in a vacuum. If Joe wants to handle all these records, we are happy to just turn them all over to him and he can answer every road question that comes in the door.
No, we've been,
I can tell you 2 superintendents ago, those people said they didn't want anything to do with this. And so it ended up down here in our lap. So we scanned all of the records from there. Also,
Okay, so to get a better understanding, I just have a few questions. So accumulating the data you got from our old books in Michelle's office, the road records.
yes.
Okay.
Look, and we have also got scans of most all of those records. So yes, we look at everything we can do, and that is just one of about 13 places we look.
Gotcha. And then the townships weren't sure which roads are their responsibility. Is that our job to tell them what roads are their responsibility?
By statute, as I have read it, whatever the county is not maintaining, the townships get. The townships have all local roads. They have none of the major, minor, or arterial.
And they don't have authority to open roads either, so determining.
So they get what you're not doing. Then between the townships, they negotiate back and forth as to what they do, because if one of them has a section coming from their county and then there's another 300 feet into the next township, this township says, well, I don't want to go out and drive on yours and go all the way back and do this. We'll trade you this piece for that piece. And there was a lot of that trading going on. And the problem with that is when the trustees change, the new trustees don't always know what the old trustees did. And as amazing as this may seem, township trustees don't always get along. So those things that we just found ourselves in different spots dealing with them. And we try to deal very forward. And in fact, one of the things that we do, because we have this database, is we provide townships on a regular basis with maps of their road responsibilities that have been previously determined. Now, what I will also tell you in this is if it's not a road and I have no history of it as a road, we don't always put it on there as a road.
That was gonna be my next question, because you had mentioned in the letter that your original findings revealed that there are dozens of roads that no one is responsible for. So how did we find that out? Like, what led us to look for roads that no one's maintaining? I'm just curious.
Actually, it was the other way around. We look for who is responsible for roads, and when no one claimed them, then we have those roads. And so when I go to the county, the townships, and no one claims something, then I have to say, I don't know what to do here. So again, that's when we took a look at those. We look at road records. We try and figure out what's there. In my history, one of the things I'm very cautious of, and I have had very good attorneys tell me, don't get caught spending public funds on non-public property. And so I'm always trying not to do that.
You're leading into my next question of, you had said that you found that private drives are being maintained by Atchison County?
There are private drives being maintained.
in Atchison County,
He said.
Not by Atchison.
not by Atchison County,
Oh,
in Atchison County.
who is maintaining the private drives?
townships.
I do know for a fact when I started and was running the blade, I was asked to blade by the landowners a couple of roads, and I said, I don't think they're roads, and they're not roads, but they sure look like roads. They're private drives.
We have some match to do.
Yes.
That are being maintained that aren't.
No, they're private, like Newman Drive, the Newman Edition, that's private, it's not Sixth Street.
Yeah, it's another one. I did the
There's
same
a
thing.
bunch of, yeah.
The same situation, I must tell you, I have done for many years. I've only been with this county for a short 12 years, but I can tell you over history, I've dealt with this over and over. And Newman Drive is one of those that for years it was just thought of as a public road. And then that is one that I took to the appraiser. It was not Holly, it's been some time ago, and said, we have that shown as a public road, and it is not a public road. There is no conveyance, no transference, no acceptance of any kind.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but just a segue here. One reason why is because they wouldn't follow design standards like we just passed. And it's not built to the standards, therefore the city wouldn't accept it. Is correct?
Well, actually, Art Newman, who did Newman Drive, just gave everyone an easement to the property. And so he owned it all
Yeah.
and just gave easements to it. So when he died, the people who bought it went through all of the deed troubles that were going on, and that's when they found out they owned the whole drive.
Gotcha. Well, and just to be clear, I am not against road standards. I was against the ones we adopted because nobody got back to me on 3 pages of questions and concerns I had. So it's not that I'm against road
Sure.
standards. I understand the purpose. I'm not ignorant to the fact that you have to have guidelines, but that just was a bit over the top.
Well,
for me,
I
so.
apologize for that because I thought he had it.
Okay, so
That answered that question for you, though.
yeah.
There are a number of locations. I'm not after those. I'm not trying to blow a whistle or anything. I'm just trying not to put them on the map to mislead people.
Well, what I'm wondering though is there some way it should be on the map, at least for internal use, so we know, so our grader guys, everybody knows
Well,
what the private drive?
There absolutely is, and what we have done, and I brought these. There's another issue, and I don't want to confuse this issue with that other issue, but there are problem parcels in Atchison County where either the septic tanks are on the wrong property, or they don't have access to public roads, or they have bad legal descriptions. There are a whole list of things that can be problems. And so we have created a web map out there that has those
You did that, right?
parcel questions that I think would be valuable to every realtor and title consultant to be able to look at, and lawyers to look at if they're buying, selling, or representing someone with relationship to property changes. They should be able to look at and say, oh, there is a concern here. You should look into it. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
So you had mentioned that the accumulated database that we have holds no authority though, correct? That's what, and that was a little concerning to me, of just like, so the information in the road records we have hold no authority?
No, the information does.
Okay,
The overall accumulation of that plan of that database that we've built has not been formally accepted or adopted by the commission.
gotcha.
And that's all I'm saying.
But our roads, like everything we look up on our roads and right of ways and all of that holds 100% authority.
Yeah, as I always say, we know what we know, we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
So, and I think Michelle will stand by this. There are holes in the records. I mean, we have a lot of things where we know something has occurred here and then something has occurred here. And we don't know what happens in between those two, because we don't always know what occurred at all the meetings, and they weren't always properly logged.
Right.
So
So I think that just piqued my interest of like no authority, because I know that we've historically sent out letters to landowners about property easements and needing right of way and different things. And I just wanted to make sure it was that had validity. Especially because most recently we were talking about an eminent domain possible situation, and I just want to make sure we're covered, that the information we're given has authority, I guess.
The information is good. I'm not gonna spread bad information. But I will also tell you, there are a lot of people who think that they're on a road that I can't find no information for.
Gotcha.
Okay, I can't tell them they don't have a road, but I can tell them I can't find the information. I can give you one right now that we're dealing with, which is the K.S.A area over off of Potato Hill. And I have a surveyor who is surveying off parcels that they're working for estate work. And then the question comes up, well, you've got 3 addresses down in there off of 266. Now, I didn't issue any of them. That's prior to my time. But they're wanting to know what the record is on 266th Road and Trigo Road in those locations. And I'm saying, I have nothing that shows 266 has any existence in that location. I've gone back through the records, I've done the research and put this stuff together, and I can find nothing, but I can find easements with the deeds where there's easements granted to use that to those owners. And what the basis of those are. And so I informed them when they do their survey to turn this in. Even though they're not going to have to do a plat, the city has said, we'll let this one go without a plat because they're doing it for estate purposes. Then what I have them do is put on there that no road records were found and that the easements, put the easements on that are shown and where they are. I mean, we continually run into those, but if we don't log those as we go and make them easy to find, in 10 years, they're gonna be just as hard to find as they are right now.
But they're easier now that you scanned them into the database, right? Like,
You know,
instead of having to
we
go
know-
get a ladder and
So.
get
yeah,
on your
that-
books
the-
and.
The more visible we make them, the easier they get.
So is the idea to eventually adopt the database we have, maybe on an annual basis, adopt the updated database as we discover
You know what?
roads and right away.
If you at one time say, we think this map is the best we have at the current moment, then we start from right there. And when people come in, if it's on there, it's on there. If it's not on there, that's where we're gonna do the research and say, okay, we'll look for it. And before I put it on that map, I'm gonna have the county commission say, yes, we give you the blessings.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
It makes
I'm not
sense.
suggesting that they don't have anything. I'm suggesting that everyone right now, when they walk in the door, they think all they have to do is argue hard enough with us and we'll put it on the map. That is where I want to be.
To answer your question, we have maps for each plate operator. And tells them what their routes are. There's 4 routes. And those roads are our roads. So those, and
They know.
they know, what's our roads
Like
and
in
what's not.
services, 20 years from now, and then some of the private drive is like, hey, buddy, you're supposed to do this one too.
Well, see,
Never say this.
mine was the instance I was giving you as well. We used to give out a card for a Christmas dinner or something for people to blade the road,
Oh, yeah.
a gift card. And I said, well, I won't do that. So.
Yeah.
So those are things that used to happen, but our routes are all on our roads.
There were city snow routes that had the issue, same issue with snow plowing.
The only
You don't
time we
fix
do
part of it, I
anything,
think.
the only time we do anything would be as if one of our operators lives on a road that's blocked with snow and we need to get them out. We will go get them out. That's it. So.
Okay, so I guess just a couple other questions that I had when I read this is, what happens right now when you get a question about a road is you research and discuss the findings with the person concerned or whatever. Why change that? Why do we need to change that process?
I don't think we need to change it.
Okay,
Actually, the only thing we're doing is we're formalizing this. And the reason we're formalizing it is because right now, just like in the case of someone else that has come in here, they want to know exactly what the process is. I don't know the process. All I know is what we're doing. And by the time it gets here, it can be our fault for doing the process wrong. So all I'm trying to do is say, if you agree with the way we're doing it, just tell us, yeah, this is good. This is what we want to continue doing. Because we serve you. So when it gets to you, I don't want you thinking, why is this issue ending up here? It's going to end up here because it's not on the map right now. And I see you as the authority to put it on there. We'll bring you the information that you can use to consider that. Okay?
Gotcha.
What happens right now is people think when they tell us that we ought to get the information and come straight to you and tell you to put it on the map. And my point is, no, the person who wants it on there should be coming to you. That's what this says.
Right. I think that's valid.
Well, it makes sense to have the constituent come with the concern.
I do think we need to adopt all the current roads database in some formal way, whatever that date is. I mean, if that's every July or every January. To me, it's just an update that you have to do. Because you're gonna find things.
That's fine.
Have you done that before?
No,
Never adopted any of this?
they've never been adopted before. And that's why I'm saying we're at this point. Well, 12 years ago, we didn't have anything. And I will tell you, for the first 6 or 8 years, the data was not great. But we're getting down to a point where we've researched roads, locations, addresses. I will tell you, from the initial addresses put on there by the 911 people, we have removed hundreds of addresses from Atchison County. Okay.
So I'm just curious, so when Mrs. Miller from Trago was in here trying to get the address, and we were told that there's no road records on the Trago Road, right? We were all involved in that conversation. After that meeting, one of my township contacts called me and gave me a resolution that she was given in your office stating Trago Road from 210 North in Walnut Township was a minimum maintenance road. And so those are the things that, like, for me as a commissioner, I'm like, what? Like, there's no road records, but this is essentially what you're wanting to do, is to pass a resolution, right? Stating what the roads are, just like they did back in 2018-14-33, signed by commissioners stating all these roads of what they are. But in that instance, we didn't have records. So I'm just trying to understand.
We never told her there were no road records. What we told her was that we don't show that there was ever a right of way acquired. Okay, but there was at the time right of way shown there, but we let her know at the time that it was a minimum maintenance road. We told her that right up front.
We knew that.
Yeah, we knew that.
That in that meeting,
That
we
is-
talked
and-
about there were no records because Gary had it in his hand and he's like, I have record, like,
And-
I have record.
And
But these are the things that are very confusing. And
And this is why we're trying
this is
to
why
get
I'm
it.
saying we have created a new form where when they walk in here, we want you to have all this data that we already have on.
but we did do it before. Like, this is basically exactly what you guys are wanting to do, right? Like Clay to 238th Road from Barton East, 1925, like, it's the same thing, right?
That was based on information the townships had given us, that they said that that was a minimum maintenance road, but there hadn't been any investigation on so we done it on the behest of the townships declaring that as a minimum maintenance road.
That
Not
was
as a
strictly
county.
township request. We didn't, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about now.
But this is like what you're wanting to do though, correct?
No,
Like
no,
pass,
no,
pass a resolution with our roads. That
No,
was my understanding. Right?
We are wanting to pass a resolution, what roads we know
Right.
are roads.
Right.
The only thing I know about that is I was just here and there were some townships that wanted the signs put up and there were some townships that don't. And I was the guy that went around and put every one of those signs up on those
Minimum
roads,
maintenance
minimum
road.
maintenance. And that's all I know about
So that township identified that as that they declare or saw it as a minimum maintenance road situation.
Gotcha.
But it wasn't investigated or we, our end of it had never investigated whether that was or not. So, yes, that was from their standpoint.
Gotcha. So for the resolution for ours, you're just talking county roads.
Well, I think it would be all roads that we have located on the maps.
It's all roads.
We're just talking about adopting what we see as real roads.
And then if there's something in question, then when they go to Roger, then these are the steps we go through. And if it is something that ends up being should be, then it would come to the commission to do that. And if it's not, if they weren't happy, they could take the information that Roger had given them and what he said he would give you, and then they could come talk to you guys about what they think they should do. Am I on?
That's.
Yeah.
So it's not really saying,
So you're
these are the roads that we know right now that we think are the county and township roads. If somebody comes up with something, I mean, there's roads that go up in the fields. It's just like the one with the bridge with Mr. Funk, So then they can answer the questions. He has all the information that he can get, and he'll find the rest of it. So we can give them the best answer we have, and then let you guys see the best answer presented by that constituent, taxpayer, whatever, and then let you guys make the decision on whether it should be a road or not. That way, we don't have to be involved in that part of it. He's given them all the information they need.
So I guess just question, because that example kind of flipped my brain thought of, should it be their responsibility to come to us or ours to research the road and know?
Well, that's what he's gonna do.
Right.
When they come to him,
Really.
it's both. They're gonna come to Roger. If they come talk to me, I will send them to Roger.
And that's a good
He
example.
will, and
that
he
road
will,
down
he
there
will,
that was-
he will go through and research everything and give them the information, whether that's what they want or not. And then if it's not what they like, then they
They
can
can
come to
appeal to
you and
us.
appeal to you guys.
Well, if they want it to become a road, I think they should come in here. We're gonna provide them as much data as we can find. A lot of times, they know data that we can't find. Now, whether it's real or not, I don't know.
Right, but no, that's what we found, like,
Right.
when Mr. Toll was running it, this was work, and that gets back to who took care of it under whose leadership.
Right.
And honestly, if they come to you, if they come to us and say, hey, we have this and we look at it and we say, oh, there's good reason that this should be a road. And we would have said that with Trigo Road. But when it comes to you, also it needs Joe's involvement on what should happen to it before you accept it. I mean, because if it hadn't been used for 30 years, it's not there anymore.
Also,
And so it probably should be brought to a standard.
If they go to Roger, and he should have time to be able to look some of that stuff up, because it's gonna take some time
Right.
before they come to us, because we don't want them walking in here the next day is like, well, Roger couldn't tell us anything yesterday, but
Well, we
no, we're here
don't,
now.
my thing is, we don't have answers without the information you guys are
Right.
providing to us.
But I think it
So-
should
And then
be
that's
so,
what-
like,
a timely exchange
welcome.
of information.
We will glean that data. We'll give them everything we have. A lot of times they want what we don't have. And I just don't have any way to go get that. I've got a little guy who comes in here. I shouldn't have said a little guy. I've got a guy who comes in and he's got a road that he wants. He knows it's a road. He wants it in there. It shows up on no records anywhere. It doesn't show up on any maps at any time in the past. It appears to be a field drive. I have nowhere to go for anything. And yet he's gonna come back every 3 months and ask us about that road. He's gonna do it again and again and again. So what we're doing is we're creating one record on it. We're creating a question file. And that question file will have everything in it. When he comes back, we'll be able to drag it right out and say, unless you can help us with something else, we have nowhere to go. Because
Question for you, how do you keep track of these parcel number? Because you don't have an address, you're not sure it's a road. So do you go by I mean, how do you track those?
Section township range.
Okay, that's what I wondered. So
The best way
That's all
we
you can
can do
do.
it.
I mean, yeah.
Is there any way of, because I know that, I believe when Mr. Service had the low water crossing down past the quarry there that was in question there. And he actually brought older people that remembered when the roads were open to our meeting. Do you remember that? And they kind of basically testified as to the fact that, yes, that was a road, and when the new highway went through and kind of, which it was good for us, but it's not really anything that could be put into a record. I mean,
No, but the county commission had the final say, and the
Yeah.
county commission said, yeah, we believe this is a road based on what everyone
By
has said,
testimony
what is
of-
going on. And so, from our standpoint, we said, fine, we put it on, but we not only put it on, we had Pat draw the documents, and they all signed off
Yeah.
to give sufficient right of way for what they were claiming was a road and bridge already. Correct, Pat?
right.
And so we're solving the problem at the time, and should that occur again, that's still one of the things on there is that if it's got problems. Or it's got no existence, there has to be a solution for, if you want to adopt it, here's what needs to occur to get it done.
And in that situation now, we have the record.
Yeah.
I mean, that record's there now. I
And
mean,
it's on the map.
and it's on the map. It's on the
So,
map. It's
We're just
ours.
saying, follow that, if that's what we're doing right now. And you would ask, and a couple of you asked, how would you know where? Well, that's why we're doing this other web map right now that kind of shows problem locations, because then that can show up there on that web map.
And so every road that will be listed on there is defined as, we have the record, it is what it is, and there's also right of way, like.
I can't validate that. What I can tell you is, I have not researched every open road we have. But if the county or the township has told me that they're maintaining it and it's not had a question raised, then it's on there. But if there's a reason to question it, like no right of way in our records. I mean, if we've been showing right of way on something since 1980, then I don't feel bad saying, yeah, it's probably a road. But we haven't researched everything, okay?
Would there be any answer? I know that Joe, you've been compiling where all of the culverts are. And all
We're
of that.
working on it.
Will
It's-
that be like overlaid on that same thing to where that could be put in the archives?
So Roger's map. Okay. It has all the bridges.
Okay.
They went through and tried to get every culvert that they could find, and once we've started. Then we relay that information straight to him and Jack. And it's all put on the map.
Okay, that's why I didn't know
Plus-
how detailed this was that.
Plus, in our own file. Every road, every section of road, anything that's done on that road is documented. If K.S.A says, you haven't graded my road in 3 months. We can pull it up, just like the other day, we had the instance with the person with the letter. The road had been bladed 3 times after the 1st of May. Every 2 weeks it was getting bladed, whether we evidently didn't solve his problem or whatever, but I went right back. We have all that data. And when we do work to a bridge or we do work to a culvert, they get that information sent straight to them. So not only do we have it, Roger also has it. So that we, it's kind of a check system for me too. Are we doing what we need to be doing? Are we getting where we need to be? That type of thing. Plus, we're finding out what our culverts are like and what size they are, and the bridges. The information goes to Roger. You guys have access to it. You can pull it up, click on there, and the information that we've gotten so far is on there.
Yeah.
So none of this was done. When I took over, I couldn't find any of those records. Not saying that we had a guy that destroyed a lot of stuff, had it shredded. Some of it could have been. So working with Roger, I had a question from the city of Effingham on right of way. I look it up. I got their map. Didn't really know for sure. So I sent it to Jack and he's like, this is a strange one, but I validate through them if I need their help. So
we-
we're trying to,
Yeah,
to,
I think that's
get
good.
as much record on everything and we work back and forth on that.
every culvert has a name or an address. And it starts out with either a D or an R for a drive culvert or a road culvert. The next three letters are based on the road that it's associated with. And then the number is, as we said, every center line has a numeric range for addresses, and wherever that culvert falls on that center line, that is the number, so that becomes the address of that culvert. So if he has an R, NEO and an address, he knows where that culvert's gonna be.
So
And
like,
so we do that, and then we started logging in data on all of those culverts, data meaning, is it an RCP, corrugated metal pipe? What is it? How big is it? How long has it been in? What's the length of it? We have all that information, the best we can get in there, and we just keep dumping more data in. And so the secret of the geodatabase is it just lets you have way more.
You just keep building them. So,
yeah. And then we, like I said, then it's documented. I lost the guy who was doing that. He left, so I've got to try to find someone else to continue it. It's gonna take a while. We mainly started on the road culverts and the entrance culverts. I kind of have been dealing with them as issues come up, but just trying to get through the road culverts and boxes and pictures are taken in the whole 9 yards, so.
And just for your information, part of our technology stuff is that there is a program out there that we can get as part of our ESRI subscription called Survey 123. Now, Survey 123 is not about surveying, it's about taking a survey. So what we can do is, it's an app that we can run this through our machine, but we can put an app on everybody's cell phone, like his road and bridge workers or anybody else. And you can put an app on their cell phone that asks you a series of questions. And so the series of questions might be, is this culvert? You could say, okay, we want to survey culverts. And then it would say, based on the fact that it's a culvert, is it a road or a driveway culvert? And what road is it on? And what location is it? Now, you can have required and optional, just like if you're filling out a questionnaire. But one of the requirements can be a location. And all you do is you hit it, and then it records the current location of the device from which is taken. So if they do that, then we can download that data 2 hours and have it automatically populate the culvert layer of the map. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
mhm.
So
It's pretty much in real time, right? Or do you download it later?
right now we download it later because it's on individual cell phones and where it may be on individual tablets and we don't have
That's
them
what
all.
we're
typed up.
using.
It's pretty simple.
If I could interrupt for just a moment, we've been using that program for quite some time between me and Emily at Road and Bridge. And it uploads the points that she enters into Survey 123 directly to my website.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Jack.
Okay, good.
Cause we started,
So just telling you, that's all part of this technology stuff and it all helps.
as it started, we were writing it all down on paper and doing all that and then coming in, giving it to Emily, and then she was having to do it. So then we got our mini iPad, and it's got it to where she can just send it and we don't have to do all the other steps. So
Good. So as far as this document, sounds like it just formalizes what's been going on, but gives us the
Yeah,
authority. So do we
and-
want to have this rewritten in a more structured way as a resolution or a policy or?
If you all just tell me you want me to continue doing it this way.
I mean, I'm good with the way we're doing it. I feel like adopting a resolution when we haven't had an opportunity to research it yet, like,
No, I'm just saying before we decide, I mean, have this written in a way that's a little more.
If you tell us you're happy with this and you want us to continue to use based on what we've written here, we'll just do that.
That's fine.
I don't know that it has to be formally.
And
adopted.
That's what I'm asking.
I
and
just want
just
to
that you
know
guys understand
that
this is what we're trying.
then I'm going to represent to people that they have accepted this as the way we're doing things.
So this privacy be policy. So we probably need to adopt this policy at some point. 'Cause right now, I mean, that's what I'm hearing, right? We talk about getting county policies uniform and consistent and
so
maybe not right away, but eventually.
Originally, I thought we were adopting a resolution with roads. That was how it was given to us, like a list of roads.
Right, so,
That's
so,
the other part.
okay.
So we've veered from that. So
Well,
I'm-
but it
I
all
want-
kind of fits. That's why I did it today, because it all kind of fits together with everything on my topics.
Right.
So the road classifications that we did should be
Functional,
sufficient.
so like the functional classifications, that's the same map as we have
So then,
for our roads.
yeah, so that's.
So you adopt,
good.
yeah, and then I'm sorry. And it's just kind of moved from one to the other. We went to the road standards, and then this is way back then when you guys were asking, and we were agreeing and we were working on it together. The processes we need to do, this ties into the roads, with either procedures or how we're gonna do it. Rogers came up with this. I've looked at it. I think it's good. So it's the same one you have on the
The letter?
process, the road,
letter?
the questions. So to me, it all kind of ties in together. We've got the map. Basically off the functional classification map. It's the same map.
Right.
Okay, so then we talked about road standards. And then we're coming to these process of road questions. To me, it all lays in there together so that you guys understand why we're doing this. This is how we would like to move forward, because there was questions about how we were doing it before. People would come talk to me. People go talk to Roger. People go talk to you guys. If we can set this to where it starts here. And he goes, pardon me, he goes through and has the questions and he does all the information. To me, it ties it all into one. And then that, if there's a road question, it comes to Roger. Roger talks to me if he needs to. He gives the people the answers that he has. And if it needs to come to you guys, it comes to you guys. Am I making sense?
Yeah, but that's what we've been doing, right?
It is to a certain degree, but I haven't been able to say to people, just like when K.S.A came in to talk to me, I'm not able to tell her what our process really was because it wasn't anything which the commission had approved on what was going on.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they just wanted to sit and argue with us until we put it on the map.
That's why I say that we need to make this a county policy or something so that, because right now we all talk about it, and 5 years from now, somebody else is sitting on our chairs.
It'd be real easy for me to put this as as bullet points on like 1 through 6 that says, here's what we do.
Yeah, I think that just makes it simple for the public, that way they say, okay, I have to do this, and then we go there. I mean,
And then you guys would have that information in the bullet points. This is the steps we do if you guys okay that.
right.
And then he has it, and this is the steps when somebody comes in. This is the steps we go through. Does that sound better?
I mean, I think it's the same concept, it's just should be little. If I come in as Joe Blow or developer, I said, what's your policy, how do you get there? You do this, and
I
that.
guess-
They've got to research it, then we'll take it to county commission.
We're looking for the blessings of the commission to, this is how we're doing it.
I totally agree.
And if Roger needs to make bullet points, fine, but then when somebody comes and talks to you, you have that information. We have that information, so you can say, this is the steps that we go through to get to this. You can give it to your constituent. Or if somebody comes and asks Roger, he has something that the commission has said, okay, we like the way we're doing this, and then there's no questions on how we're doing it. Everything's pretty well cut and dried, if that makes sense. The steps, the process in which to get the road question answered.
I guess I'd be interested in seeing what your bullet points are. I mean, I took that more of as a letter of information, like that's why I had the questions.
Okay, no, and that's fine. That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
What I'm seeing is the big question mark is, at what point do we say, we've done everything we can help you with, Joe, public, and then the commissioner's got to make a decision. That's what's not really there formally, and I think it's important.
So that's kind of why this was all tied in. So,
And so if we approve, so you've got the roadmap that we with K.S.A on, so that's fine. So then over the next year, let's say there's 3 roads, we say, oh, we'll open those roads, we declare those are our roads. Then we'll have to do an updated map or something,
Right.
a description every so often. Or as we get changes.
Map isn't necessary, is that not the map that would be for this purpose, is it? I mean, but.
Well, it has all the roads on it.
It does have all.
They wanted to know all of our roads.
Okay, all right.
They wanted to know what on there that was driveways, what wasn't driveways.
You know, it's nice in 10 years when K.S.A says, where's your map? Here's our map. It's up to date.
Yeah.
So,
It's in the records,
Yeah,
so we'll have it in our records.
yeah, version 47 or something. Maybe.
so however you guys would like to proceed with this, if you want Roger to do the bullet points, talk to
I don't
Roger,
have
I'm
any
sure he'll
problem
do it.
that.
Yeah, I'm just.
We just want to know that we're operating, because what we don't like is getting here and being pitted against constituents on what we have said and what they're saying. I don't like being there.
And I don't like being there as representing my constituents that the goal is to help them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and
And
we
they-
all want to do that.
So,
Right, and so,
so all we're trying to do is say, if this isn't what you want done, tell us. If this is, say, yes, this is what we want.
gotcha,
I mean,
I
just,
think the goal is to find a resolution as to what's correct,
right.
you know, but they
Right.
they may want to help it with, it's not really accurate, you know, just say it so we can get it right.
So,
We'll look forward to reading your bullet points to see.
alrighty, so now I have a contract for engineering for Swab Eaton on Ottawa Road. Now, and I've got these, I want to pass these out. Hopefully it'll help everybody understand. So through the process of the grant, I don't know if anybody else wants one of these or not. I might have to look at this
I
one.
have it if you need an extra one.
Okay.
I brought it.
So, the preliminary engineering and the construction engineering are part of the grant money. It does not include. So this is money out of our pocket that we have to pay. So, the engineering services, and I've talked to Gabe about the cost. I'll find the $165,300. And Gabe felt like that was in line where it should be. We'd already selected Swab Eaton to do the work. They had helped apply the year before, when we got all the answers that we needed to correct. But so we're going to get $1 million grant, up to $1 million. Anything over that, we have to pay out of our pocket. Our pocket is at 500,000, but I'm sure that things are going to end up costing more than what they would have. It's just, that's how it's being done. So I just wanted you to be aware that these engineering services are not included in the cost share. We have to pay those ourselves. And also, if you look, if there's any right-of-way acquisition or any utilities, if we have to move, that's on us also. And I was hoping that would help explain this part.
So I just have a few questions.
Sure.
On the permitting, do we have permitting? Because it says that'll be paid by us as well.
Whatever needs to be done, yes.
Do
But
we
I
what
don't
that
know,
is?
I don't know that we would have permitting on this. The main thing is they will measure the length of the culverts. They'll check the right of way. The only thing we could have permitting on would be like if we do a structure in a stream. We would have to get permitting for that.
Which this shouldn't. Maybe.
It'll be close on a couple of the bigger ones.
Okay. Also a question, so we have Gabe as our county engineer,
Right.
but we're hiring these folks in addition to.
So Gabe is gonna be the go-between to make sure they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing.
So we have to pay Gabe and Schwab Eaton.
Yes. And that was in that's how he wanted to do it. I mean, he wanted to have another outfit completely run the whole project. But I don't think he's gonna have to do a whole lot. He's been very happy with all the questions Swab Eaton has asked.
I guess that doesn't, I'm trying to understand that. Like having two engineers for this project seems excessive. And I know Gabe was able to do our Morton Road beginning to end,
Right.
so why we have
He,
to,
he didn't feel like he was big enough to do this all on his own.
okay. Do we have to pay him for this, or can we just go off of Schwab Eaton?
We pay Schwab Eaton. And then if he doesn't have much to do with it, we won't have to pay him much at all. So like if there's a problem, say Schwab Eaton has something that's not right, then I will go talk to Gabe and he will take that up with them.
Question on, so this is our contract for engineering services.
The preliminary.
Um,
So Gabe estimated 145.
yep,
And he said they came in within 10 or 11%. That's usually pretty close, and he has no problem with that. And then when you get down to the construction engineering, and I talked to Dave Beach today, that it would be less than what the preliminary, and mainly that is construction, and then them being out there making sure whoever gets a contract is doing what they're supposed to do. Full-time inspection. I don't think we want part-time inspection on a project this size.
No,
Do you?
especially with there could be everything from compaction issues to, all of that. It's not something that I would wanna.
Pat, did you have a chance to read this contract?
I did not review it in detail.
Okay,
He emailed it to me the same time he emailed it to you. So.
gotcha. So on number 5, it said the final plans within 2 years of the date of the contract, the consultant has an option to renegotiate the agreement.
If we're that long into the
And then-
project.
Number 6, to obtain authority for consultant, the right of ingress and egress on private property adjacent to the property. Is that something, so I guess that, and hold on, I had some other ones. The next page on 7 and 8, prepare and furnish county's description of right-of-way required and prepare and furnish the county's utility agreements. Are those things you can handle, Pat? For the right-of-ways? I mean,
Well, except for coming up with legal descriptions of what's needed. It would surprise me if there would be a lot of right-of-way acquisition by this project. There could be a little, but.
There's not way around some culverts.
So my understanding on this would be, they're going to survey, find out exactly where the right of ways and everything are. And then if we would need more right of way, then they're gonna give us what we would need. And then it would probably, we could either take it and have Pat do it, or we could have them take care of that part, however we want to do that.
so what is our right-of-way on Ottawa right now?
Well, it's different.
Which part?
Part of it's 50 and part of it's 60.
Okay,
And they will go out and they will look at every box, and see if we need to have a little bit more, and it may just be a drainage easement that we may need, instead of having to have more right of way. The big boxes would be the ones I would be concerned about. And then as far as the utilities, so let's say rural water district, we need more right of way and they're outside of our right of way. It'd be more like what happened on 310th, where we had to pay for them to move it. But there's a chance that they're in our right of way. If they're in our right of way, then they have to move themselves, as long as we're not, if they're in our way, unless we're having to obtain more right of way. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna find all this information out for us and then let us know what we need to do.
okay.
Does that help?
Yep, nope, it does. And then for improvements requested to take the project beyond the estimated 1.5 million would be subject to additional design work.
Hold on.
How, I was just curious how that's gonna be determined.
I've got to find which 4 you're talking about.
We're on page 3 of 5.
Okay, so my opinion on that would be, if we decided we wanted to go another half a mile.
Okay.
That's the way I would understand that. What do you think, Pat?
I don't know what it would take to make the project improve.
Because
Make our
it's, we're getting $1
estimate
million to go 2 miles.
Yep.
And they are doing everything for that 2 miles and that is it. Now, what did you think? Pardon me?
Be hard for me to see to imagine what it would take to have the estimates be off. The cost estimates be off on that much.
Yeah,
And then the number 5, when it talks about per the above review, proceed with finalizing the preliminary plans and field check. Do we need to put our timelines in there because,
right, so there are timelines, but we're behind already.
right, that's what I was gonna ask.
So what they still have to go through everything like it's supposed to be. And what they're saying there is that they will have the field check, and the field checks and everything have to be okay by KDOT also. So they have to do those steps and present it to us and to KDOT.
But do we want to put a timeline in there for them, since this is our contract, so that,
So here's the thing, until we get Gabe's the one that set those up when he applied for the cost share. All right, so those can be moved. It's just like the date that we have to apply by. I believe it's November of 24, but we have 6 months afterwards to get the under contract. There's a certain day we have to have under contract. They're working on these things right now.
no, I just think it's important I'm fielding questions and have been since we were awarded the cost share. And you know that, and so when we were sent this and the timeline, it's just like, I think we found in the past with contracts, when we didn't put specific times for contractors, that it gets left behind.
Well,
So how do we protect ourselves to know that we're moving
Right.
forward on our timeline?
So
I
those
guess?
dates are dates that I'm positive that Gabe put in there as projected. Well, we had to wait on KDOT to send us the letter that we got. All
Mhm.
right, and then we did my office and Gabe did the pick the engineer, which we didn't have to. He just wanted to do it. On bridges, it's different. You have to do it a certain way. So then we've got that done. Gabe had to get that done. Now we're moving forward with the contract for engineering. So those dates, I mean, I can talk to Gabe, but those things are falling in place. It just is taking longer than what he had put on the original dates.
So-
And then they have to be done before, everything has to be done before we let the contract.
So like on number 10, consultants shall then prepare the bid documents and assist county in letting the bid. Are we still gonna be by November 15th, or are we? pushing
Okay, so
that?
we have till 6 months after that. I'm pushing to get it done as soon as we can. I want to start next year. I mean, it's very important, but they were concerned as late as we kind of got started with this, that if we hurried, there was a lot of people that the timeline, if you're gonna let it this year, there wouldn't be as many people to bid it as if we got everything ready to go after the first year towards the end of the year, if that makes sense.
That
If we pushed it to, they didn't feel like they'd have the time to get it out to everybody like they should. I don't,
The engineering firm wouldn't?
yes.
Okay.
And then I've talked to him also, and we can talk about that in the budget part, that the replacing the concrete, reimbursed concrete boxes and all that, but
And then page 4 or 5, the geology investigation, is that something that we're
that
going-
they do.
that we're,
Let's see, where are we at?
it doesn't include, that
Page
cost
4,
doesn't include it.
4 of 5, which one?
Number 8, it says these services do not include the cost of geology.
Okay, so if, this would be my opinion. If we usually do core drills like at bridges and stuff like that, maybe that would be what they're talking about, which the engineers never pay for. We always pay for, and KDOT doesn't pay for those either.
Will our core drills work that we did through Gabe on Ottawa?
Well, depending upon where they're at.
So you may need some others.
So like if we had to put in a bridge or,
A bridge would be much deeper.
right,
thing
or a
than
box,
doing
if we had to put in a big box or something, then we would be responsible for that. And usually that we've got a place we've been using that's been a lot cheaper than the other places that we just started using not too long ago.
So I
And
guess-
then something else I wanted you to see, and the average daily traffic on our local road safety plan was off. It said 800 and some daily traffic, and it's not. We're still underneath the 400 that requires it. I mean, anything under 400 average daily traffic is a low volume local road, and that's all of our roads. We were close when we did our traffic study down there, but
So Ottawa's under 400?
yes, because on the form and everything, the local road safety plan had 800 and something, so.
There's a couple of those you're kind of wondering about.
Yeah, they were wrong. So
How do they come up with that number? Is there, do you do a counter?
the state does, but then when you guys request us to, then we do our own. But the state comes up with those, especially on the major collectors, and I've seen them on some local roads before also.
I think that auto road gets improved, it's probably gonna have a higher traffic count.
Yes,
It's becoming-
well, it's gonna be a lot safer and a lot better, so. So I guess, do you have any more questions, Casey? that
No.
I can answer. No, I'm doing the best I
No,
can,
you
so.
should- the only concern is just paying 2 engineers. Like, I appreciate Gabe saying it's out of my league. I don't want this. But like, I would also think that we should just pay them and you work with them instead of like,
I can talk to him.
I mean,
I'll be willing to talk to him.
it just seems crazy
I
to pay
missed that
2
part,
engineers.
So what's
So-
the second part?
So Gabe is our county engineer,
Yeah.
but he didn't feel comfortable with this project. So
The whole project.
so that's why we're doing Schwab Eaton. So my thing was just like, I don't think we should pay 2 engineers for it. Like, we just work with the engineer on the project.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just,
What was Gabe's call, and we're paying him a small amount to be consulted on this, or?
Well, he's been on the hourly is how we signed the contract with him.
Well, yeah, so-
which won't.
So I
change
will
things.
talk to him.
Okay.
I'll talk to him.
I mean, I'm
and
sure
see.
you'll understand
Yeah,
exactly
no,
what I'm saying.
but I'll talk to him and see
And I
if
appreciate-
it's gonna be minimal or
If it's I did some oversight, it's minimal cost is one thing, yeah. I don't think they both be from 2. I agree.
and then I could talk to you a little bit more in workshop. If that would be all right.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm asking, did I hand that to you? I moved so many papers. Here it is.
I have a copy
Here it
that
is.
I Wrote my questions on.
To sign the contract for engineerings with Schwabi.
You want to review that first, Pat, before we sign it? Since you didn't have an opportunity to?
I certainly can. If you want.
Just thought it was
I think
standard
we-
practice.
I think we've got, well, I think we've executed contracts with them before, but yeah, I'd be glad to look at it.
Okay.
I don't think I have an email copy of it. Actually,
Okay, do you want this or do you want the email?
well, I would rather have the email.
Okay. I will get that to you then.
Does it need to be done today?
Well, as soon as we can get it done, so, because
That's
they're
fine, man.
already, they're
Yeah.
They're out there working right now. Okay,
So I have one more question, since I wasn't here last week. On phase 1.
yes,
So when you initially sent us the info in December, and we watched the perfect solution for gravel roads. Then I listened to, that we authorized $37,918.75 for base 1. And can you explain your selection on the three
okay, so
roads?
one of the reasons why it's more is after we did the cores. He felt like we need to go 8 inches deep instead of 5 inches deep.
Okay.
Okay, the selections on the road, Cheyenne, of course, is gravel in the middle and asphalt or chip and seal on both ends. All right, so 302nd Road is a little short stretch. It goes from K.S.A to 70 to the cemetery. It's like 3/10. I wanted to see what it would work like, and it needs repaired. This isn't just, it needs repaired. What it would work like doing that part of the asphalt, grinding up the asphalt like we watched in, Alan went with me in Missouri and we watched that. So we have a small test of that also.
So you're grinding asphalt on that.
Yes,
And what are the traffic counts on those two? The Cheyenne and 302nd?
I don't have, I know that the quarry, there's a lot of people that go back and forth to. There's a quarry on 302nd.
And that other one was a county connector, right?
Right.
Yes.
Val-
I believe-
Jefferson County?
Yes. So then. After this year, we would have every road done except for Deer Creek. And it had been chip and sealed clear back when they first made it a development. It was in poor condition. It's in very poor condition. And I thought, here is a perfect opportunity to run one more scenario and try to get it, because it needs build up. We have to do something with it because it's falling apart. So I thought that that was a perfect place, and then we would have been through all of our roads one time at the end of this year.
Now, were we gonna add millings to that one?
Will be whatever he tells us we need.
Okay.
It may be some gravel. But I want to grind it up. It was chip and seal and it's all failed. We went out there and pulled the edges back, trying to help it drain. But then we ran 3 different scenarios. So we've done an old chip and seal. We've done the asphalt and we've done basically the gravel. So that's. And it needs to be done either this year or next year. And I felt like with them coming this year, that would be our best opportunity to try to get it put where it needs to be.
And the traffic count on Deer Creek?
It's very minimal.
Now, question, because last November, we determined that that was not our road.
So we determined it was our road.
Well, the document, did we find county documentation?
The way I understood we did, well, I don't know if we have found county documentation, but we found documentation stating that the current road and bridge superintendent at that time said that they would take care of the road.
We did find.
Yes, like you and I talked about, but it wasn't through the county, it was through
city.
it was through the city.
Right. So I didn't think it was our responsibility that was my understanding on November when we talked.
Oh, I thought it was ours. If it's not ours.
And
Where's
again, going back
your
to
map?
road records.
Where's your, I know, and we couldn't find anything.
Right.
Where's
exactly.
that map the
Map.
map I just gave you? Oh, functional classification map.
Oh, it's in there. And then also on test spots, I felt like we always talked about having high traffic. Like when we did micro seal, we did 286 where we can really get a good test of whether or not it holds up. Because that was the
I think it was
understanding.
more of the scenario of what type of road.
Well, it's
As it
traffic
was.
loading, like that's what they
Right,
always said.
Right.
So I was really confused why we selected that when there's no
Well,
traffic on it.
Where was Deerfield again?
Deer Creek's where
Deer Creek. I get-
Jake Hawk,
Yeah. I
where
got
they
you.
live in there.
I got you. Yeah.
That's why I thought it was ours. I mean, if it's not ours, we won't do anything to it, but
Yeah, I think we determined on that.
I thought that it was ours.
So in November, we didn't. And we only found the city's information, but
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't
I mean,
know.
I-
Where and when that
Subdivisions and dedicated roads.
changed.
Yeah, so I think it's private.
it's
Yeah,
private.
I think so too.
Yeah.
That's why I was confused of like,
But we paved it. didn't we? Couldn't we do an overlay on it?
They chip and sealed it. Or you don't think they did? Did
what?
people who owned it do the chip and seal?
Pretty sure that you did. It gets into this is the subdivision regulations that people are there's some pushback on doing it.
Mhm.
Part of that process is approval and acceptance of the roads. And of course, back at that time, they didn't have that.
They didn't do it.
I know that several of the landowners had complained to the commission that we pay X in taxes, you should pave our road. And so the work was done. I don't know whether it's a public road or not.
I just didn't know if a test strip, like,
Well,
I
I
guess
mean,
that's
if
my
it,
thing, is
if
the
it's,
traffic count. I
okay,
don't really,
okay,
I'm not on the,
so,
is it our road right
so
now,
if,
but more. of the
well, but
traffic
no, that
count
is,
from-
that's the most important thing. If it's our road, it needs to be redone. And this was a perfect opportunity to do it probably at a cost less than if we went in there and, completely build everything from scratch. So if you don't want me to do it, we don't have to do it.
I was just trying to understand your thought process on.
But that's what my thought process
Choosing
was.
it.
I thought that it was our road. If it's not our road, then I don't want to be spending money on it.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I remember the conversation, and what we found was documents from the city.
Not the
And,
county.
but I think also was that in a, it was either the city, I don't know, Michelle, did we look up to see? I can't remember. If, any of that was documented on that housing. I don't remember.
You just found that 3 mile subdivision rules. It's just, I was on the commission when we approved it. We said you approve the design, layout, whatever.
And
That's
it was, Casey's right, it was the city that said that, that they talked to the, road superintendent, and he said they would take care of it. But I don't know that there's anything in the county saying that it's our road. But we've been taking care of it ever since I've been here. We've plowed snow on it, we've done all of that stuff ever since I've been here,
Right,
so I
you
don't
can
know.
Formally accept it or whatever and move on, because if you've already been doing stuff, it gets pretty awkward.
But I mean, that's what it was when I started here, they were taking care of the road, so.
We definitely need to get it.
So what do you, so what do you, I mean, I'll hold off on it.
Another thought of the base one was, constituents were putting their own base rock on Phillips. So I didn't know if Phillips could be a good test spot because it's got high traffic of. I mean, I brought up Rooks earlier just because those folks talked about putting their own money in to build it up.
Oh, they all go together and do their,
Rooks was mine, but then after a few weeks later, we talked about someone had put their own base rock on because it was not hard base. I was like, well, that could be a good test spot too.
So
So
I'm wondering, this year we do this, planning for next year, maybe that's a good place to go to actually, because they've actually already fixed it up to some degree.
so my number one concern here is. If you do not want me doing that road, if you don't think it's a road, I will not do that road.
my
We
number
will
one
stop,
concern is doing it and it's not the county's road.
Yes, make sure.
Yeah, I think we better check on that.
okay, all right, because,
Cause you had a couple of locations you can test out, like the Corstein's that one, you can maybe use it there. basically.
well, Corpsteins, there's concrete underneath it, and we have to tear the whole road out. But as long as I don't let this freeze, we can use it again next year. So maybe that, on Rooks would be a decent place to try it. Seriously, that where all the houses are.
Oh,
I think you
how
get a
long?
good
Is there enough
traffic.
plannings for amount of material? I mean, the same amount of Deer Creek would be the same amount of length over there, because it's.
It'd be a little bit less,
Okay, so.
a little bit, so we will have material, but,
Okay.
no, I was under I thought it was our road, so I guess I need to go talk to Roger and see and if you can come, you know where I'm talking about, Michelle? We'll try to get a date. It's, there where Jake Hawk lives in there, trying to find out if there's anything that says that the county would take care of that road. Cause we've been mowing it, plowing snow,
Yeah.
doing everything.
If it's not been formally done, we'd probably figure out that process and just get it done, because I don't know what you can do.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so.
Agree.
But that's why, if it is our road, this was a perfect opportunity to go in and try to to rehabilitate it and be done with it. Is what my, and then see
Seeing,
how, because I'm kind of curious about how that would work in that scenario, where there was just one layer of chip and seal on it. So,
I think higher traffic count would be good too, just. to
okay,
see.
no, that's fine. I'll do whatever you guys want, but that's what my intentions
You got a
were.
culvert down there too, you need to fix first.
Yes.
So,
I know
one
that.
or two.
One great big concrete
One
section
big one,
culvert,
there's a little bit, just a little bit.
just the one big one, that's the
Okay.
problem. So, alrighty.
Okay.
Well, we will not do that. Any other questions? The bridge will be open the 27th. Independence Creek Bridge. They've got to let the last of the
Good.
concrete cure.
The 27th.
Yes. They the engineer, they wanted to open it and the engineer said, no, it needs to cure longer with the heavy loads going across it on the overhangs. So.
What a project.
Mhm.
Next week, can we add a couple? Well, I can email you. I just have a couple things for next week's agenda, but I wanted to give you, I just want to follow up on the four-way intersection.
Okay, so
14th and
I
Lincoln.
went and looked at that the other day myself. I've got to get hold of Nelda and get her out there. The biggest problem, there's no sight distance whatsoever. None.
Where's this at?
It's
on
214th
Lincoln.
and Lincoln.
There's absolutely none. I went out there the other day, last week. There is none. So I've got to find out from her how we move forward so we don't have to pay an engineer to do it.
And then the low water crossing or where Shane took that bridge out, did we get any, are we doing the engineer to get us options or what did we decide on?
Right.
We're still exploring the road from the north, it's down and south. To get access,
I don't know.
we gotta figure that out.
Yeah.
We haven't
so
really
followed up on that.
No, and I am trying, just so you know, there's a culvert on 314th that I'm in the process of trying to figure out how we can get that replaced. I had it in the budget. Hopefully we could get within it. I talked to the township and landowners on both sides and
14th and
K.S.A just east, between there and Sedgwick.
So is that near this? Or this is just another, you're just saying?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
just saying that
That
I'm
area,
trying to get that,
vicinity.
we need to get that replaced. But I did talk to both landowners and the township because they're wanting to widen the road and everything. And I said, well, we will put in what we need to do, but as far as how far you go with widening the road, it's gonna be on you guys.
Widening Rollins?
No, this was 314.
The new bridge is going, right?
Yeah, so do you know where Jim Underwood lives? You know where Carrie Stone lives? Right in between them, that real narrow spot
Okay.
that's dangerous.
There a culvert, I would live there anywhere, right there, the road's just narrow,
No, there's a big culvert,
there's a culvert there,
Yeah.
yeah.
big culvert.
Trying to picture.
So, anything else? We're really concentrating on some gravel roads, Eric. I drove your area Thursday and,
there's a lot of storm damage from. the
yeah, and
last
then the
month.
last 2 inches didn't help things either, as hard as it came.
Yeah,
Down for you tonight.
Yeah, so,
I don't know, it seemed like water really cut for some reason, some of these rains, and because we didn't have. Looked like our road, like there's been a 6-inch rain hit it. And of course, on township, but.
yeah, but I mean,
It just shows what it's done to
Yeah.
it really cut.
So, well, I'm good unless you guys have anything else.
No.
Here, I think I put that from you.
Concerned about it.
Did we leave? Were we
Got
one thing
workshop
to
today. You
have
wanna do
them
this road bridge
do
workshop today, or do you wanna do it next week?
inspection services,
What time do you have to leave?
inspection?
Okay, so that will come later.
Under separate
Two?
treatment.
Okay.
Yes,
We
Why
can-
so it
I
will
think
be
we'll
under
have time.
construction
I
engineering
I
and
just-
inspection. That will come later. So are
So
you
I
good
think
with
we
that?
should maybe do a quick
You wanna-
review of it anyway.
Yeah, and then our minds can start.
And then
thinking
if we
about-
need to
That's right,
reschedule.
that's a good point. Be-
That way,
Yeah, I
we
definitely
don't
wanna
want
get
to
it.
walk away thinking
That's
about
right,
it.
that's
and-
what I was worried about. You know, a lot to go over an hour, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would definitely want to do a quick read.
Okay.
Right, Pat,
I've reviewed that. I don't see anything out of the ordinary in it.
Perfect.
It doesn't include, as you noted, the construction.
Timeline. Timeline.
ins-
survey, the,
inspections,
yeah,
which
doesn't include
that will come in a later agreement.
And I
That's on
suppose
this.
the agreement could be redone to include that, but it could come under a separate agreement. I think that's probably going to be an hourly charge anyway.
Yeah.
Not a lump sum.
Okay. So I would look for a motion to approve the contract for engineering services by consultant for the Ottawa Road project.
Heads up.
The county will enter into this agreement
I know you
with
normally do.
Bob Eaton. And this agreement has been presented by our road and bridge superintendent and also reviewed by county councilor.
And then it has the amount on the second page.
And the total amount will be $165,300. Do I have a motion to approve?
So
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. Passes. Read this. All right, so next step was just, I put on there the ARPA recap. Wanting to talk through that. With our meeting next week with the courts, just wanted to gauge whether or not this 53,168.61 is what we're planning to allow them, or just that initial 18,000 that we had done for the fob. So just kind of wanted to get our heads together before we get there on that piece.
Okay, let me get, there was a total of 53,000 available
Remaining.
remaining.
We initially, at
that's-
the very beginning, we put 101,523.75 for all courthouse renovations. We're down to 53,168.61.
What?
That does not include what we initially did, the 18, correct?
It does.
So the 18 is in that 53.
Yeah, it's already been taken out.
Oh, so the 53
53
is,
is correct.
It's 53. What else, what total? I guess you would have to say, what's like the clerk's office, and has there been those estimates put in yet too?
I've talked to Brian in regards to that, but I don't know that he's had a chance to get.
I just texted him, so you can go around here about it.
did the bathroom on the main level come out of this yet?
You paid it out of this budget.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was pretty minimal.
Okay, well, that's good. It's been paid. So there's no other projects right now. And he finished the attorney. And he finished not to, so we haven't finished them.
But what he's got left is little stuff.
So-
It's not- there's no
Yeah, there's no.
So we
but-
should be fine if we allocate this where we want, that we won't be hit on the back end. He'll have it in his budget.
The only thing that I don't know about this is any electrical updating.
Oh, yeah, he was getting a quote on that.
Well, that's the question when you start tearing things out, and where the bathrooms are. There's plumbing questions too, a practical plumber, maybe do some of that.
Okay.
Depending on when he gets the walls opened up, what he's got. So we were up there looking at it, trying to figure some things out that one day.
We talk about the court level,
In court, yeah.
yeah.
But either way, I can't imagine it's gonna get too crazy on costs, and you're just talking about.
There it is.
Okay, you got a minute? Come on, we got your electric chair up here.
Hot seat.
Sorry.
It's a Nick, I'm probably. Yes, what you got?
Do you think you can do the courthouse or the court renovations that Roger drew up for the 18,000 for Bria's office and the fobs and the bathrooms?
No,
Okay,
not, we need to, for sure, I need to know what the bathrooms are. And kind of then go from there.
Okay.
But the Bria's part is cheap. The bathroom part is probably gonna be the more expensive. one.
so can you get them both done for the 18,000?
I don't know.
Go get fobs.
Once-
Fobs.
Once the fobs weren't in on that part out. But let's, let me look at it. I'll start getting some numbers. Are we
Can you
going?
have them before next Tuesday?
I can get close.
Okay.
Now, that means I'll be close with what that plan states.
Roger has that plan,
And if,
and that's the plan that Judge Loudon gave a thumbs up.
okay,
So if you can get with Roger on that plan and get us numbers on that before next Tuesday,
okay,
so that we know what we're
So
doing.
Yeah.
just to be clear on that plan, we're talking Bria's office, picking that wall out and putting that for desks in there.
yes.
But is it also where they're gonna have like this record storage and you fold it in that room as well?
Both.
Okay, so it's those.
So there's three areas that are really under major construction and the bathroom was included in
It's
that.
2 room and 2 bathrooms.
Mhm.
Well, 3 bathrooms going to 2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
ones
okay.
that do mulch.
Okay, so.
So I
bigger
think if
Scope
we're-
is that, so.
I'm on the same page as Roger because I've seen that and you guys are now.
Now
So
we are.
as long as they are, then
Well,
we're good.
We,
Okay.
we are,
Yeah.
but we're gonna have that conversation, so everybody's
Sure.
on the same page of what's happening.
Yes,
So
because,
we got direction of what's happening, and we have
okay.
a
And
plan.
then I can give you, and then that includes putting air units in there too.
Right.
So get everything on that.
We need all of it, the
Okay.
whole ball of
Yep.
wax,
I can do that.
and your timeline, because it has to be paid out.
Okay. Another thing too is, and this totally a different thing, they want to resurface Parallel Street
Good.
out here. They want to do that in July. They want to mill it on a Saturday, but pave it on a Monday. So they'll give me a schedule on that and everything, and I'll try to get that set up with, because there will be no parking out there on that day.
Do we want to fix that curb in advance of that? Get rid of that driveway entrance and make the curb.
They'll, I don't know, we could do that where there's an approach there that's still in there.
Used to be an alley or something.
The alley between the courthouse and the
Yeah.
jail.
Because right now people just drive right up into the grass.
And they've taken out signs several times.
And they'll run for Lincoln.
So, yeah,
Got safe stuff.
I'll look at that too, because that didn't even hit me because they were talking about striping. The only way they'll do 20-year striping is if we cost share. What the cost share is, I don't know yet. So they're trying to come up with a,
20-year strike.
yeah, it would last 20 years.
Oh, wait,
Wouldn't
did you
that-
just say the city, the only way the city will do that?
We'll do the 20-year striping for us.
What's normal?
Well, just what we've been doing, the painting every year. So
So what do they do downtown?
they do the striping. I'm sure they're doing the 20-year.
So why
But
are we any different?
because they're putting in parking lot, not a center line.
Say
So
that again.
they're gonna do parking, handicap and everything like that.
All that.
So
Yeah,
when they do
So
that, like
that's
at
kind of
Memorial
really-
Hall, or
I don't know how,
what's the difference?
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Or
I would think that
YMCA,
it'd
or,
Probably be a recovery job between now and 20 years that would cover it up anyway.
That's
I mean, you
what-
would think it's some kind of
Yeah.
seal or.
I don't know
That
how
just
long that's
feels-
been out there now.
feels
I would say
bizarre.
cover that.
Okay, so what I'm wondering is if the parking is actually on county property. I'm kind of wondering, maybe.
I have no idea.
That
That's
would
why-
make more sense,
why-
because I'm like, why would they be asking
Yeah,
us
why
for
is,
that?
why is a city?
It's
street
just the
in
parking
in
stripes that they
world?
want to do that with.
Yeah, they're gonna mill and overlay that area.
Yeah. They're gonna do the whole street.
Can you
but
just ask
it
that
will-
question?
I will, yeah. I'll find
Because
out.
it doesn't, like, that's a bizarre
I really
question.
wonder if it's
Something
actually.
don't
Yeah,
think.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't think they probably go to the businesses downtown and say, hey, I'll give you
But
this.
it's cut into county property. I bet that's all county property.
Might be
Parking,
cut out.
I'll just about bet you.
Off the street, but
Right, probably pull that up on the map and see.
yeah. Yeah, and it looks like it comes in, but I don't know
Yeah, that's all I can figure
what the
out.
right of way is or anything like that. But I'll
We
find
want to
that out.
stripe either way.
Yeah. But I'm kind of on the same page as Eric. How long does that asphalt gonna last? And is there a warranty with that asphalt?
Yeah, and after 15 years, it might be, it's there, but I mean.
5 years, you got a pothole right in the line. Does that
Yeah,
count as the 20 years or what?
well, you gotta wait 15 years before it's straightened out.
So I don't.
It just seems like it's a long
But
time.
I'm
for
waiting
something
on a
like
pricing just to see what it is anyway, so.
And then you're getting an electric price, is that still true? Okay, we need that one by next Tuesday too.
We will not, I don't think have that because it'll be sent out for bid. So
Okay.
until they bring back bids for
When do
that.
you think we'll have that out to bid?
I will, Roger was drawing up the plans for the breakers and stuff. So I'll get with him, maybe we can get it out still this week.
That'd be awesome.
Is that the electrical for the
Yeah.
3-story, 4-story panel, whatever it's called,
Mhm.
5 stories, however big it is.
Yeah.
It's ag to
We need
basement,
them
so-
all to bid the same scope on that, so.
Yeah.
we'll get
Is that
it
the
out.
only other thing hanging out? Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks
You
for
bet.
coming in real quick. Appreciate it.
The only other thing I just wanted to share, my thoughts so that I can get them out there on the ARPA. So when we originally received ARPA, we talked about like one-time projects that would cause a ripple effect of good. So through this process, like I was on board with the $2 million for the road and bridge facility, because it's needed. Like I'm wholeheartedly believe that we need a new road and bridge facility. However, now that we have the scope of things, the master plan and numbers, I believe that I am not in favor of sinking our whole 2 million into that facility because I don't believe that's making the ripple effect. And I think it's rushed with our timeline in like 5 months. And then also I think we can do more good with ripple effect utilizing that in other ways. I think the ripple effect for me would be the land, the sewer, the water, the underground electric, all the utilities and the chain link fencing. And I think that sets us up for the ripple effect going forward of when we talked about why, right? All the things we can then start being efficient with our millings, buying millings. We can stockpile our rock. We can put our pipe there. And then we can really dig in and sit down. I would like to sit down with our local contractors and go through this and get their ideas of numbers and costs and how we can work with local contractors to make this a success. I think there's funding mechanisms that go beyond the 5-month deadline that will be beneficial. And I think that I talked to Lyon County commissioners and their county controller. And some of the numbers, so they were originally quoted when they did their project. They did two buildings. They did a shop and then they did shop and then a bridge garage or a bridge building. And they had $7 million that came back on their master plan estimate or whatever. And throughout the process, they were able to get it all done for 4.9. So that gave me hope too, right? Of like, when we start digging in a little bit deeper and understanding, I think we can finance it cheaper than what this number says, hopefully, and then come up with a funding mechanism that maybe we utilize, like we talked about, making our money work for us. So, and also I wanted to say that the 8.2 acres, I think that we should ask for 20 acres instead of 40 acres. That's my thought. I mean, 20 is over double of what the master plan says at 8.2. So it gives us more than double of what they're saying. So for future, right? Thinking through what the future looks like. And I read through the contract and I really think that everybody that's players in this, the city and the economic development group would be proud of us for being fiscally responsible of not buying 40 acres when we only need 8.2. And the fact that they put in here that they wanted the first right to buy it back if we ever sold it. So like, it's kind of one of those things like, we don't know what we don't know, right? And open-mindedness and talking through and everything made sense up to the point. And then now that we get information, I'm like, okay, still believe it's needed, but I think that we need to do it in a manner of, maybe slow down a bit and try to get that land locked in at 20 acres and purchase it, pay for it, done. That's also part of the utilities and the chain link fence. Like, I just think that would secure us, and then we can kind of take a deep breath and reassess what we need based on this, and work with local contractors to kind of get some budgetary thoughts, or even their input, right? They're the ones that do these things every day. And one of the things Lyon County said was like, which Lyon County had nothing but great things to say about BG Consultants. They had some concrete work done on their floor and it popped. And they went to bat for them and they didn't have to pay a thing. So I think having them, you know, as part of this is a good thing. Sorry, he called me right before our meeting, so I wrote on an envelope on my notes, but, oh, generator. Did we figure for a generator to run the shops? Because that's one of the things that, and then their wash bay, they said that were definitely needed to be part of the project.
I don't know.
That could
generators on
probably be
there.
in a contingency, I would think.
Okay.
You know, where they figured so much.
Yeah.
We hadn't talked about it, but it is definitely.
But I think just talking about ARPA dollars, like spending for the land, the utilities and the fencing, that's a ripple effect, because you just set yourself up to be able to move forward with a project that's needed. But the timeline of having everything under spent and under contract for December 31st. And I know it's been thrown out, oh, the backup plan is to throw it at payroll, but I think I would be very irresponsible commissioner if I just dumped money at payroll when we've had, what, 3 years
3 years.
to come up with a plan on this. So I've been trying to think of other alternatives to propose in case you guys might feel the same way. And I talked, so Corey has a couple of storm shelters that he was looking at that would be a one-time expense that would provide safety for our people in Effingham and Atchison. He was getting some numbers, I think it was like 18,000 each. Memorial Hall, we were told needed tuck pointing. And I'm just thinking, we're talking about building a new facility because we haven't taken care of our current one for years and years. Like, so it kind of makes sense that maybe we take care of what we own right now by maybe doing that. Corey said this morning 2 cardiac monitors and CPR machines that can provide medical CPR for people. Again, safety, people, one-time expense, ripple effects. I just want to throw it out there. Don't need really feedback. I just wanted to share my feelings of where I'm at. And I think we can do better of staying with our true value of one-time expense and ripple effect without just dumping it. That's where I'm, so again, I know you guys are on a time crunch and we need to get into our road and bridge workshop, but it's just. I
You
don't,
want to start?
do you want to start? What, did you guys already talk about this?
No, but I feel that there will be, I mean, I didn't know if you wanted to go before me, because I think it will probably garner some response to that.
Yeah. I appreciate the way you're looking at everything and trying to balance it all out. Okay.
Yep.
So don't take away.
No,
anything.
no, I
But-
love having these conversations because I just,
Yeah.
this is where my head's
So-
at. I think it's just,
They kind of came out to me as like all over the page. So here's the thing.
yep,
We threw some ideas back at the B&G about, you know, footprint and scope and all that.
Yep.
And we threw some other ideas around last week. So
well, sorry, I missed last
it
week.
was more like just how things are laid out and where the fence should go and how many acres and all that. So I just think. I know what you're saying. I get that, but on the other hand, I mean, I'm all in for the shop facility and the road bridge facility. I do think we're gonna have to phase how we build things. And definitely local contractors to be involved. So, I mean, I just say.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're ready to make a decision here. And I'm still thinking I need more information.
Okay.
But we can definitely get things done by the December 31st deadline that we need to get done. As far as we're spending money. They're going back to next week. Are they back here next week?
He,
I
He
can't
sent
remember.
me an email saying, when I asked about they asked about a driveway, see what, there's probably no access to the other part of the property off of 73.
Yeah, so what we talked
Do
about.
you understand what I'm saying? So that driveway, they have that field entrance.
Okay.
Would have to stay like a field entrance. Because it's
Yeah.
probably not gonna pass through KDOT with the hill there and everything with people, if we built, say, offices or something, and a lot of people coming in and out. So it was brought up, what if we take the driveway that was on the north for our equipment to come in and out? We move it up to the north end to where if we ever went outside our fence to some part.
Or
There
if we
was a-
sold property to the east, there would be access to the
to
rest of
that
the property from the road, from the
From
gravel
the-
road on the west.
Okay,
Yes.
That was, because I think we'll need access to that regardless
Okay.
whether it's us building
So-
or someone else
So
building.
the only
And-
thing I did is I asked them about making it 12 acres instead of 8.
okay,
And then putting the driveway up there, and they had like the two buildings facing each other, which we didn't want.
Yep.
And they had the sand hopper thing, I wanted it to access both sides so we could hang our tailgates too. They had it so close to the fence, that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And the salt dome was turned the wrong way. So I said, just, it was very little, and I sent that to him, and he said that they would hopefully next week have a binded.
Yeah, an
the
updated,
8%,
yeah.
buy everything in a binded to present to you guys, and I hadn't told, I just found this out this week, so.
So once we get more, I guess, this other information, now back to your point, like the ambulance needs and all.
yep,
I get it, those are easy hits if we need to do that. So
Yep.
we get, so I'm looking at that. But I think the financing side, we talked a lot about how to put that all together. So, I mean, it's a little too early to say, make all these go the directions. That's where I'm at. It's just-
so do you think at 8.2 or 12 acres, we don't need 40 acres? Do you agree?
I always said that all
Yeah.
along.
Okay, well, but
then-
we didn't know, right?
But then
I didn't know.
I'm skeptical. I think we could do a quick ask to see if the city and that would be able to move quickly on it. But as long as it took for us to go from proposal to, and if it would take that same length of time, we're out of time before we do anything.
I don't think that's gonna be an issue this time. I think more the question's more about, do we want to back down the number of acres? But I think we need to let them know if that's an idea. I would lean towards maybe going to 25. I'm not going down all the way to 20 because there
Okay.
may be some future needs. and-
I would be something willing to have that double, that would be double
It's one of the
still.
things Joe
I
talked
just
about
think
was-
40 seems
Well,
ridiculous
he's talking about
when,
a practice area too for building roads and all that kind of thing. So he needs a little room for graders to operate, so. I
Just
mean,
some place to, we've talked about this
Yep.
before, we have
Yeah.
no place to
Yep.
really train anybody other than that, either on the job, and some of them need some work.
But we would have to actually include an easement, I think, for them to have access to that other piece over there. We're gonna,
Right.
we should do that. We'll have to do that.
I also would wonder if they would change what acres we get and not even be the same, because if it's possible they'll want access or something like that, and maybe not want to sell us that portion if it's not 40.
But those,
That was a straight
I think they'll
through
be very
but
understanding.
those acres aren't gonna make that much difference on total. dollars.
thinking and
No, yeah.
doing that. I mean, until I have assurances for them, I don't know.
So our review period is up September 29th, so.
Yeah.
We need to be mindful of that, and if we're all in favor of lessening the acres, having Pat start that conversation.
If it's can be done expedited.
Which means me have to have the surveyor alter the survey. You know.
Okay.
Which may.
So is that a direction you want me to ask kind of informally? If
I
they
think-
consider
I think so.
25 acres instead of 40?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as long as it don't change our northern boundary, because if they want to squish that down or something, it's not gonna, we're gonna have to start over. That's
Well,
would be a
and
no
It
go.
would be totally fine, even if you shared with them our master plan, so they can see the acreage and the layout. I don't think they will do that, like, once they see what. I mean, we didn't know how many acres it would take and now we know. So now it's a different, we,
It would be the eastern side, with western side, we would have to maintain. We talked about 60-foot right away across that top.
Yeah.
You know, that, what I'm wondering with semis, with that turn, should we design it as 80-foot? I'm just wondering, it'd be wise to have a little more,
Well, we can,
or do, or
and
make
some of this, when I talk to them, is those things can be adjusted with no problem.
yeah,
Like when I asked for like the extra 4 acres of fence, well, then that gives us a chance, a third more to move stuff around to where we could put in
yeah.
a bigger entrance or whatever we wanted to do.
And maybe with B&G, our scope ends up being for the things you named that far.
But I can't remember when we first started, what was their first 2 estimates?
3 million something. When we first started, the initial thing
Mm-hmm.
was 3 for the one that we wanted, right? Because they did a cheaper one, but we were like, no, we're gonna do.
Because I think there are some things that we could do to help ourselves out on cost.
Well, it was very, it made me feel a heck of a lot better to find out they came in
What?
2.1 million under.
I would be too quick to run for the whole idea.
I'm all in. I'm very much at the table for this. I'm just talking about the ARPA dollars. I
Yeah.
just think we need to be open-minded, and if opportunities to make a difference and a ripple effect, we think of not just dumping the 2 million at a facility that's not gonna accomplish what we're getting at. So that was it. That's it. I mean,
I think to me, it's gonna probably come down to more of road and bridge budget and overall budget for this year to see where we're at. Because I want to see those numbers where we're coming in and how we apply that ARPA money and stuff. But
Yeah.
that's gonna be a big portion of it.
sounds good.
So I got this plat from Roger on the property we were talking about, whether it was our road or not. Can I
Yeah.
send that to you
Yeah.
guys? And I don't know that it really answers everything.
Well, is it something we solve
Okay.
today? Or?
So,
Or do you want to go into workshop?
No, I just gotta leave.
He's gotta leave
I
by
got-
2, so he's.
okay, well then we'll,
It's not urgent.
okay, well, I just,
We'll recess into, I'd look for a motion to
We need
recess.
to,
What?
we need to do expenses or anything, we do all that and then just,
Oh, because you'll just.
that's what I
leave.
wanted. then you
Yep,
just make sure,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so any county councilor updates?
Well, I had circulated to you the resolution involving Trago Road, or Trigo Road, I guess.
Did I get that?
I haven't done.
I haven't gotten it.
Well, Michelle, I don't remember. Did I just send it to you and not to the commission? Was it not in the things that you got? It's not urgent. It could come up next week, but
Is that the one that's in the orange folder?
we don't want to leave unresolved. We don't want to leave conflicting information about what the county's stance is with regard to Trago Road and the half-mile north of 210th Road. And as was noted, there's a resolution that declares it to be a minimum maintenance road. I think you guys changed that already at an earlier meeting, but just to make certain, I know what this does is essentially what occurred at the meeting back in March, to determine that it is not a open public road.
Okay.
But it could be next week
Okay.
if you haven't seen it.
I just sent it.
I think I probably did just send it to you. I should have sent it to the commissions.
Any other updates?
No.
Look for a motion to approve this week's expenses.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. Any public comment? Seeing none. I would look for a motion to adjourn into a 2025 budget workshop for Road and Bridge, County Lake, and Noxious Weed.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. No, I just adjourned.
Pat, did you
Thank
ever
you.
come up with anything on the Lincoln statute? Whether it was